Are you fed up with dieting and ready for a lasting lifestyle change? TOPS, Take Off Pounds Sensibly, is a nonprofit group that can help. They meet at the Senior Center every Friday.
If you enjoy
at
the
noon.
outdoors, walking, bike riding, or jogging, the Franklin Bellingham Rail Trail is for you. You'll find paved parking at the Grove Street entrance in Franklin and at Lake Street, Center Street, and Fox Run Road in Bellingham. Come explore and enjoy all 4 seasons along the rail trail. You can also help to support and develop our trail. Join us. The Franklin Bellingham Rail Trail. It's the natural thing to do. For information, visit franklinbellinghamrailtrail.org. Serving Franklin and neighboring communities. You're listening to WFPR-LP 102.9, Franklin Public Radio. And worldwide, anywhere, anytime at WFPR.FM. We're always happy you're here.
Welcome to the wonderful world of wine, exploring all things wine with you. We are your hosts, Kim Simone and Mark Lindsay, and you can find us on Facebook at The Wonderful World of Wine. Hello, folks, and welcome to The Wonderful World of Wine, exploring trending topics in the wine world. We are your hosts, Kim Simone and Mark Lindsay, and today we have 2 special guests with us from Winoji, all the way from New Zealand.
I call the August 17th, 2022 meeting of the Franklin Town Council to order. Please pause for a moment of silence. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Announcements from the chair. All citizens are now welcome to attend public board and committee meetings in person. Meetings are live streamed by Franklin TV and shown on Comcast Channel 11 and Verizon Channel 29. In an effort to maximize citizen engagement opportunities, citizens will be able to continue to participate remotely via phone, or you may click the Zoom link that is on the posted agenda and on the town's website. Phone number is 929-205-6099, and enter the meeting ID number, which is 830-1-2472, and then you need to hit the pound sign. Once again, the meeting ID is 830-8201-2472, and then hit the pound sign. If residents are just interested in watching the meeting, it will also be live streamed by Franklin TV. Councilor Hamblin is unable to attend this evening. The council is in receipt of a letter of support from Bob and Ivy Patton and Cliff regarding a ZBA issue at the Felton residence at 17 Blue Jay Lane. This is clearly a ZBA issue, and they are addressing it. Okay, citizens' comments. Citizens are welcome to express their views for up to 3 minutes on a matter that is not on the agenda. The council will not engage in a dialogue or comment on a matter raised during citizens' comments. The town council will give remarks appropriate consideration and may ask the town administrator to review the matter. Is there anyone in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? That young lady in the front over here.
Young lady, I like that. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Thank you for having me. So I'm here happy birthday, Deb, first. Sorry. I'm here to remind all of the registered voters of some very important dates coming up. There's an election. It's actually 2 elections this year. We're going to concentrate on the state primary, which will be held on September 6th. The Franklin High School doors open at 6 a.m. and they close at 8 p.m. Early in-person voting has begun. This year, I've set up 2 locations for early in-person voting. So the first location is my office during regular business hours, and on Friday, September 2nd, we're going to be extending those hours till 5 p.m. That doesn't mean you can run in and register your dog. It's election business only. Second location, Franklin High School, 218 Oak Street. Will begin on Saturday, August 27th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We will not be open on Sunday the 28th, but we'll commence on Monday the 29th. Please check the website for days and times. Town clerk at franklinma.gov. Last day to register to vote, Friday, August 27th. The office will be open again until 5 o'clock on that day. So you can come in, register to vote, or you can also register to vote online at registertovotema.com. August 29th is the last day to request a vote by mail application. So if you want to get that application in, please be sure to have it to us. The election wardens, along with myself, my assistant, will be testing the ballots here in the council chambers on the 24th, August 24th at 9 a.m. Public is welcome to attend, and I may put you to work if you're here. Remember, all ballots must be received in my office by 8 p.m. on September 6th to be counted. And we've been quite busy in the office. So far, we've sent out about 3,700 ballots, and we're still receiving numerous requests on a daily basis. And we have received to date our 1,200. So we've sent out 3,700 and only received 1,200 back. Get those ballots in. Remember, this is a primary. You have to choose which ballot you want. If you're an unenrolled voter, people know unenrolled as the old independent. What that means is you either have to select a Democratic ballot or a Republican ballot. I can't send you both, and I can't guess on which one you want. So if you don't choose a ballot, I will sign you up to receive a ballot for the state election and contact you, and you'll have to let me know what ballot you would like. Let's see. So what that means is if you choose a Democratic ballot or a Republican ballot and you are unenrolled, that doesn't mean that you're going to be affiliated with that party. You're going to revert right back to being unenrolled or independent, as most people know it. And I think, I almost forgot. We have a new ballot drop box in the town clerk's office. So please walk by, check it out. It's as you're walking into the main entrance, right on the left of the building. It's awesome. Check it out. Deposits right into my office. We have a secure bin. Roll it right into the vault, and please check it out. And that's all I have. Thank you. And I hope to see everybody on September 6th. Stop by and say hi. Have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Is there anyone else in the council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Okay, is there anyone out in Zoom land that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Not seeing any hands. Are you, Alicia? Okay, we will move on. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes, which we do not have any this evening. Proclamations and recognitions, again, we don't have any this evening. Appointments, we have a few this evening. I think we have 9, if I'm not mistaken. So we will start with the first appointment, which is to the Cultural Council, Brianna Cummings. Clerk will read the appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very happy to read these appointments. This is for the Cultural Council for Brianna Cummings of 139 Long Hill Road, Franklin, Massachusetts, 02038. The Cultural Council has recommended the appointment of Brianna Cummings to serve as a member of the Cultural Council with a term to expire on June 30th, 2024. This is a motion to ratify the appointment by the Town Administrator of Brianna Cummings to serve as a member of the Cultural Council.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, so Ms. Cummings and Ms. Sanford are the two appointees up next for the Cultural Council. Brianna is on Zoom. Brianna, you want to just wave real quick? Here you go. Thanks, Brianna. And Lauren's in the back over here. Both are very enthusiastic helpers on the cultural and arts world, and they're, I'm sure Kay is most excited because she has a couple more helpers for the Cultural Festival.
Thank you, Jamie. Any questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the appointment of Brianna Cummings to the Cultural Council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome, Brianna. Next appointment, again, is to the Cultural Council. Lauren Sanford. Clerk will read the appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an appointment to the Cultural Council of Lauren Sanford of 125 Dean Avenue, number 4108, Franklin, Massachusetts, 02038. The Cultural Council has recommended the appointment of Lauren Sanford to serve as a member of the Cultural Council with a term to expire on June 30th, 2024. This is a motion to ratify the appointment by the Town Administrator of Lauren Sanford to serve as a member of the Cultural Council.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to appoint Lauren Sanford to the Cultural Council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome, Lauren. The next two appointments, design review. So the first design review appointment is Cassandra Bethany. Clerk will read the appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an appointment to the Design Review Commission for Cassandra Bethany of 1 Willie Road, Franklin, Massachusetts, 02038. The Design Review Commission has recommended the appointment of Cassandra Bethany to serve as a member of the Design Review Commission with a term to expire on June 30th, 2024. Motion to ratify the appointment by the Town Administrator of Cassandra Bethany to serve as a member of the Design Review Commission.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, so the next two appointments, as you mentioned, were for design review. Cassie is on Zoom. Do you want to just wave real quick? And Paul is back here in person. Both wanted to be on design review. The applications, both, Cassie is actually a registered landscape architect at Weston and Sampson, and Paul is an attorney at the Railworks Corporation, so both actually have land use related experience. Mr. Chairman, it's not often we have folks that want to be on design review. And not only that, two experienced individuals and well-educated folks to be on design review. So we're very grateful that they both have stepped up to the plate.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to appoint to the Design Review Committee Cassandra Bethany. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome, Cassandra. Okay, next appointment, again, Design Review, Paul Lopez. Clerk will read the appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an appointment to the Design Review Commission for Paul Lopez of 49 Lorraine Metcalf Road, Franklin, Massachusetts, 02038. The Design Review Commission has recommended the appointment of Paul Lopez to serve as a member of the Design Review Commission with a term to expire on June 30th, 2025. This is a motion to ratify the appointment by the Town Administrator of Paul Lopez to serve as a member of the Design Review Commission.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to appoint to the Design Review Committee Paul Lopez. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome, Paul. Next appointment is Finance Committee, Stephanie Koch. Clerk will read the appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an appointment to the Finance Committee for Stephanie Koch of 60 Bayberry Common, Franklin, Massachusetts, 02038. The Finance Committee has recommended the appointment of Stephanie Koch to serve as a member of the Finance Committee with a term to expire on June 30th, 2025. This is a motion to ratify the appointment by the Town Administrator of Stephanie Koch to serve as a member of the Finance Committee.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, so we're fortunate enough to have Stephanie step up to the plate to be on the Finance Committee. A couple quick points. Her background, she's currently the Assistant Director of Finance at Bryant University. And she came to us. She did get the recommendation through the Finance Committee as well. I just should note that Stephanie did interview and talk to two members, George Conley and Natalie Riley. Both have endorsed her candidacy to be on the Finance Committee. Traditionally, we have the chair and vice chair meet with the candidates, but the chair of the Finance Committee didn't renew, so there was a vacancy. So the chair couldn't meet with them. And so the next two individuals in that order, the vice chair and Natalie, both met with her.
Great. Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Frangillo.
Thank you. Just because it happened to come up, and this is something that's come up before. First of all, I'm very excited to hear how qualified Stephanie is for this position. When someone's term ends, is that position advertised out where if they want to renew, they're considered against everyone else who also is now applying for the first time? Or do we give the default to the people who want to stay on?
So we generally give people like Stephanie an opportunity, kind of first bite at the apple, because she applied, I think, a few months ago, before Bill decided he wasn't going to renew. So she was kind of already in the queue, if you will. There just weren't any slots. As I think I explained when we did the renewals back in June, once the backlog of applications has kind of been cleared, we kind of see what's remaining, and then our intention, but time has been tight, is to put out postings as often as we can to say, here's a vacancy, or here's a series of vacancies. The one thing I would caution on is when you put out a vacancy endorsement and you ask for people to volunteer, you're going to get way more people wanting to volunteer than there are seats available. And so you have to kind of stride that fine line. With a qualified individual like Stephanie, who has an interest in getting involved in local government, it seems like a great opportunity to have her on the Finance Committee. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's helpful. I think, it's tough. I mean, we're balancing, what's the appropriate amount of staff time to spend while also making sure that term limits are treated as term limits, and we're considering all possible applicants.
I think that was more his question, was people that are on the committee when their term runs up, but they looked at as continue, if they want to continue, are they pretty much appointed to continue?
I would say in the majority of the cases, that's true, yeah. I think a majority of them. I would just note that out of the 9 appointees tonight, I think 7 of the 9 by my count are people who've never volunteered in Franklin before. So I think this minor concern that comes up every once in a while of term limits or there's getting new blood or giving new people opportunities. I think it actually happens a lot. I think it just may not seem like that. The Finance Committee, I think, is almost turned over completely since I've been here in 7 years, with the exception, I think, of one person now, George.
Yeah, exactly. He's the only one.
So, I mean, I think there is a pretty good rotation of it. And when members are in good standing, traditionally, I think we honor that service, and usually, in most cases, I think, offer them to re-up and then obviously put that suggestion forward.
Awesome. Any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to appoint to the Finance Committee Stephanie Koch. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Stephanie, welcome. Okay, the next three appointments are to the Historical Commission. The first appointment is Scott Mason. Clerk will read the appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an appointment to the Historical Commission of Mr. Scott Mason of 22 Eisenhower Drive, Franklin, Massachusetts, 02038. The Historical Commission has recommended the appointment of Scott Mason to serve as a member of the Historical Commission with a term to expire on June 30th, 2024. This is a motion to ratify the appointment by the Town Administrator of Scott Mason to serve as a member of the Historical Commission.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Jamie.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So the next three are to the Historical Commission, 2 to the voting member seats, 1 as an associate. As I just mentioned, I believe 7 of the 9 folks on here are new, but Scott and Janice obviously aren't. All of you know them very well. They've been around and volunteering in this community for many, many years. And so Scott and Janice are both experienced members of the committee. The new individual is Will Lee. Will, I know you're on Zoom. Can you just give a quick wave? They are. Will just moved to Franklin about a year ago with his family, and we're recommending him for an associate seat on the Historical Commission. He's looking to get involved in the community.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Scott, didn't you used to sit kind of right here?
If you say so. I think you're doing a much better job.
Councilor Jones.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick comment. First of all, there were so many great appointments tonight. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that really stepped up to the plate to join and be part of the town of Franklin, the community, and any one of these positions. Really, it means a lot to me because having seen many of these remain vacant for so many years, it's so great to see people step up and volunteer for everything. And I'm excited to read these tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Pellegrini.
I have a question for you to William Lee.
We're not on William Lee, we're on Scott Mason.
Scott's first.
Hold that thought for a moment.
Okay.
Okay.
You know Scott. You know Scott, right?
You know who Scott is? Any further comments or questions on Mr. Mason? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to appoint Scott Mason to the Historical Commission. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome, Scott. Next appointment to the Historical Commission is Janice Prentice. As Jamie said, another one who volunteers quite frequently for our community. Clerk will read the appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Happy to read this appointment for the Historical Commission for Janice Prentice of 126 Stone Ridge Road, Franklin, Massachusetts, 02038. The Historical Commission has recommended the appointment of Janice Prentice to serve as a member of the Historical Commission with a term to expire on June 30th, 2025. This is a motion to ratify the appointment by the Town Administrator of Janice Prentice to serve as a member of the Historical Commission.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Questions from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to appoint to the Historical Commission Janice Prentice. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome, Janice. The last Historical Commission appointment is for the associate member as an associate is William Lee. Clerk will read the appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an appointment for the Historical Commission of Mr. William Lee of 18 Martin Avenue, Franklin, Massachusetts, 02038. The Town Administrator has recommended the appointment of William Lee to serve as an associate member of the Historical Commission with a term to expire on June 30, 2023. Motion to ratify the appointment of Town Administrator William Lee to serve as an associate member of the Historical Commission.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Councilor Pellegrini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lee, thought I heard Jamie say that you've lived here for a year? Where are you?
He's on Zoom.
Yeah.
If you could just,
Can you answer the, yeah, they got a couple questions for you, Will.
there you go.
Sure.
Oh, okay. It's true that you've lived here for a year?
Oh, coming up on
Coming up on
2.
Oh, coming up on 2? All right. What made you choose the Historical Commission? to want to work with. Since you haven't any background here in the town, I'm thrilled that you came forward. But I mean, on the Historical Commission, usually people that are on the commission have a background in the town to be able to answer questions about the town and just know a lot of the goings-on from the history of the town. Just why you chose the Historical Commission.
Sure. I'm here as a 7th and 8th grade social studies teacher. I am just I'm a student of history, and I figured it would be the best way to learn about the community and be able to get involved as a newcomer. I plan on sticking around for a while, so that explains it.
Now, the town that you lived in prior to Franklin, did you serve on a historical commission or anything there?
I grew up in Woburn. I interned in the mayor of Woburn's office for about 2 years, and then I worked in the building department, and then I worked in the treasurer's office for about a collective 6 months, so about 2.5 years for the city of Woburn.
I did read that here, but you didn't serve on any historical commission or do any historical background work?
No.
For that commission? Okay, for that town, I'm sorry. All right, thank you so much.
Questions or comments? Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To Mr. Lee, first of all, welcome to the town of Franklin. It's good to have you here. I appreciate you volunteering. I will be here 24 years this year in the town of Franklin, and I've been told that no matter how long I'm here, I'll never be a Franklinite. So I'll never be a townie.
You'll never be a townie.
My
we
kids
refer to people like you as toonies.
Toonies. But quick note to you, Mr. Lee, as you start to become, you and your family, whoever your acquaintances, become more familiar with the town of Franklin, one of the best resources that we do have here in the town of Franklin is the Historical Museum. The museum does require staffing on occasion when it's open to kind of get people to meet and greet people and get them to know the museum. That would be a great opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about the town of Franklin. That's how I did, was volunteering at the museum and kind of meeting everything there is to learn at the museum. So welcome aboard.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to appoint William Lee as the associate member to the Historical Commission. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
8
Yep.
in favor.
This is 711, sir.
Oh, that's right,
711, sir. Yep.
Motion carries. Welcome. Okay, last appointment of the evening is the Housing Authority tenant seat. Christopher Lennon, clerk, will read the appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an appointment to the Franklin Housing Authority of Christopher Lennon of 72 Central Park Terrace, Franklin, Massachusetts, 02038. Board of Commissioners of Franklin Housing Authority voted to recommend Christopher Lennon to fill the open position on the board. With the term to expire on June 30th, 2023, motion to ratify the appointment by the town administrator of Christopher Lennon to serve on the Franklin Housing Authority.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion. Jamie?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the council. So Mr. Lennon comes to us by a strange way in the sense that there was a resignation earlier this year, I believe, on the Housing Authority. Just so folks understand, the Housing Authority is mostly a state-run organization. It's not something the town really does, but in our form of government, we do actually appoint the Housing Authority. In a lot of communities, the Housing Authority is an elected position, just to draw a little comparison outside Franklin. So it's a very unique board with very unique general laws and statutes behind it. As fate would have it, at some point in the middle of this term, I believe, the state changed the law at some point to have, in every housing authority across the state, to have a tenant of the housing authority properties be a member of the committee, which I think is a great idea. And I can see why the legislature did that, was to at least give some voice on a board to a tenant. I'll get to more of that in a second. In order to go through this process, we had an open application process for the seat. 5 people applied. I interviewed 4 of them. 4 called me back. 1 didn't reply back for whatever reason. And just for the public to understand, as well as the council, who's heard this from me before, but it bears repeating, typically when we have multiple people for 1 seat, especially when we have more than just a couple, 4, 5, 6, or in the case of community preservation, remember we had like 25. I go ahead and interview everybody to give everybody a fair shot. I usually ask them the exact same questions. They're not very hard. They're similar to what, a couple of them similar to what Debbie just mentioned. Why do you volunteer? Why are you interested in this committee? Are you aware of the time commitment? Are you aware of what the authority is? Just to walk through people and make sure they know what they're signing up for and to get a vibe and understanding from each member. The good news is you had 4 perfectly qualified candidates. I know everybody on this board has been in this position before, where we have too many candidates for too many seats. And so it becomes, truthfully, a razor thin, kind of stretched by a hair. And in the case of Mr. Lennon, one of the things that came across was he really had a very open mind and talked to me about listening to people, as opposed to having an agenda or a set of things they want right when they go in, which I think was in the aura of the tenant seat idea when the legislature put this through, was to have somebody to do some listening to the tenants. Additionally, out of all the candidates, I thought Mr. Lennon put forth a commitment to be here for a certain amount of time, a length of time, several years, and seemed dedicated at a minimum to the seat. And so just by a hair, that was the nomination before you tonight. And finally, I'll wrap up, Mr. Chairman, on this. In terms of participation, and it does bear repeating because it is a problem we encounter very frequently, which is people who don't get on the board or don't get chosen. We do keep their applications in case, obviously, just as we pointed out a minute ago, in case anybody else, another vacancy comes up, we try to keep those applications, and we do follow up with them, as evidenced tonight. But I really need to encourage everyone in the community who volunteers that if now is not your time, for whatever reason, for a year or two, you can still show up at meetings and still have your voice heard. I understand there's a difference being behind on the seat and maybe being out here, but both roles in the audience speaking to a board is equally, and sometimes, oftentimes, more powerful or equally as important as being on the board. And one of the trends that I've seen, and I've talked about this with Kay and many other committee chairs, one of the things that we are seeing is if people don't get picked to be on the board, then they don't volunteer. And I think that that's very disheartening. And I want to encourage anyone who does apply, either through our online portal, through any announcement, to just hang in there. There's oftentimes more volunteers than seats. But those boards and committees can oftentimes still use a lot of help in rounding out their policy or doing events or doing a variety of other things in town. And we just don't want to let good people somehow not feel as if that their voices aren't heard. So I appreciate allowing me to explain that process, Mr. Chairman, and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Frangillo.
Fully appreciate the elaboration on this one, particularly because we didn't get any details on Mr. Lennon. So it's great to hear. I happen to know that one of our most thoughtful residents was one of the applicants, and so to see that there was someone, and multiple people even, that you found as thoughtful was a good thing, a good sign for Franklin. The one small piece I would push back on is there is this, similar to the term limits, there is this sense of, you're only committed if you're going to spend a lifetime here, or if you can promise to spend a lifetime here. And, there's expiration dates for the terms for a reason, and we want people of all different backgrounds and of all different types and paths, and to live in Franklin and leave Franklin, to have the same shot at contributing to Franklin while they're here. So I wouldn't put too much weight into, you know, how long they're planning to commit, as long as they can commit for the term that they're applying for.
Very good. Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the vote will come on the appointment to the Housing Authority in the tenant seat of Christopher Lennon. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, Chris. Welcome. And I'd just like to take a second here to thank everyone who has been appointed to the different committees this evening, who have been appointed earlier in the year, and who continue to offer their assistance to the community. We need volunteers. Everybody you see sitting up here are volunteers as well. And I just want to make sure that every opportunity we get to say thank you, we should be doing that. So on behalf of the council, on behalf of the community, thank you for stepping forward and coming, wanting to serve. So with that, moving on, we do not have any hearings this evening. Yeah. We do have a license transaction, and it is the transfer of Section 12 Restaurant Common Victualers All Alcohol License and approval of Arthur Tabides as the manager. ACT Hospitality, Inc., doing business as Box Seats, located at 391 East Central Street. Clerk will read the transaction.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a license transaction for a transfer of a common victualer's license, subsection 12 restaurant, alcohol beverage license, for ACT Hospitality Incorporated, doing business as Box Seats at 391 East Central Street, Franklin, Mass. 02038. ACT Hospitality Incorporated, doing business as Box Seats, is seeking approval for a transfer of a subsection 12 restaurant all alcoholic beverages licenses and to approve the manager, Arthur Tabides.
I tried.
Tongue-tied too.
Tabides. I thought.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Tabides. All departments have signed off on this application. Motion to approve the request by ACT Hospitality Incorporated, doing business as Box Seats, for a transfer of subsection 12 restaurant all alcoholic beverages license and approve Arthur Tabides as the manager.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, so before you tonight is the restaurant and all alcoholic beverages license for the new restaurant right across here. So for folks that are wondering where this is or what it is, this is the current former alumni restaurant site. Just for the public, who's watching tonight or listening, the application before us is for Box Seats to be able to take over that license and move through the process of opening a restaurant across the way here. I would note that all departments have signed off in favor of this application, which is all of you know is key. And I just want to thank, personally, take my liberty to thank the restaurant chain. As a person who has celiac disease, I commend you for having some gluten-free items. You can't find them all the time. I don't get to say that very much. So I had to take the opportunity, Mr. Chairman. But if you have any questions, both myself and Alicia and Mark are here to answer.
Thank you. First of all, is there anything that you'd like to say?
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is David Rubin. I'm counsel for Arthur Tabides, the owner and manager of the new restaurant. The only thing I wanted to simply add was that this is the second restaurant that my client has. He's been the owner and manager of Box Seats restaurant in North Attleboro, doing the same kind of thing as envisioned here, sports bar, food, had an impeccable record, and I'm confident that he will do the same here and be a credit to the community.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor DeLorco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a great menu, it looks great. I'll tell you that. How late are you staying open? Just so I know for the meetings, when the meetings end. We're just kind of curious because.
The plan is to stay open until 1 a.m. Each day of the week.
All right, that ends my vote. We're good.
Councilor Jones.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have to be the one to beat this horse again. As part of a common victuals license here in the town of Franklin, if you plan on staying open until 1 a.m., one of the major issues I have is that some type of sustenance, some type of real food, not popcorn, chips, or anything of the sorts, is considered food. We need something of sustenance that you're gonna serve with alcohol up to, I believe it's a half hour prior to closing.
To that point, if you take a look in the application, there's a full menu.
Yep.
With all kinds of items, so.
Yeah,
That should address that issue.
Attorney Sorrell, you want to just,
The local alcohol beverage bylaw requires that the restaurant remain open virtually the entire time that alcohol is available.
the kitchen.
Kitchen.
So,
Okay. Really, the logic behind that is just because if there is an extended amount of time that people are allowed to consume alcohol without some kind of sustenance, then you just add to the blood alcohol level issues, and we really don't need that to happen. Tip training, everyone's all tip trained?
Yes.
Okay. That's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
thank you, Councilor Jones. Any other councilors? Councilor Sheridan.
So good luck. And have the license ever been suspended in North Attleboro?
No, we've never had an issue before.
Okay, great.
I've been doing food service since I got out of college, and I've never had an issue. So it's,
Great.
responsible alcohol service is the biggest thing. The liability, obviously, Massachusetts is a dram shop state, so, I always tell the staff they're as liable as I am. So God forbid something happened with somebody leaving the restaurant, not only could the restaurant legally be held liable, but so can't the server.
Councilor Sheridan, all set? Attorney Sorrell?
So for your information, the town periodically, depending on the availability of grant monies, runs compliance checks for that type of thing. You typically would receive notice that at some time that operation would be going on, so absolutely it's a zero tolerance policy.
Are those done with notice to the restaurant owner, or are they done without notice?
They're done with general notice that they will be undertaken, but not the specific date or time.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the council? The only thing I'd add is I am a frequent customer of Box Seats. My office is about 100 yards away, so I can assure you it's a great restaurant, great food. So welcome to our community. Seeing no further questions, the vote will come on the motion to approve the transfer of license. All those in... And manager, I'm sorry. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to Franklin.
Okay, next item on the agenda is presentations and discussions. And the first one this evening is Franklin Cultural Council, Kay Kelly, Chair. Kay. Absolutely. Just take over that table.
You're going? Just
Thank
Thank you. Thanks for having us tonight. My name is Kay Kelly. I'm the chair of the Cultural Council. This is Sarah Cronin. She's our treasurer and our IT specialist, and both of us have worked together at least for 4 years. We're the recent longest standing members, which is, it's nice. We've had a lot of turnover, so it's been great to have two people holding the reins here. So welcome, and thank you for having us tonight. So I thought it might be good to start with just like a 2-second reminder of why we have a cultural council and what the cultural council is. I do get that question a lot. So in Massachusetts, there are 329 cultural councils across the state. We're one of 329 cultural councils, which surprises a lot of people. We fall under the umbrella of the Mass Cultural Council. They are who we defer to when we have questions or challenges. Cultural councils at their base are grant-giving organizations, and that's it, grant-giving organizations. Some cultural councils in either busier or bigger cities or cities that have active art scenes do programming as well. Franklin is one of those towns. So towns like Natick, Somerville, Cambridge, and Franklin, we do programming as well. So we do events and we do programming. Most of the cultural councils around us do grants, and we do keep in touch with Milford Cultural Council, Medway Cultural Council, Foxborough, the ones that are immediately around us, we do keep in contact with them as well. So these are our 2022-2023 goals. We are working our way out of pandemic programming, in which we did quite a bit, and we are beginning to narrow our scope. So beginning this year, we're really focusing on 3 things, and we're hoping to stay with these 3 things for the long term, so the town knows consistently what we are doing. During the pandemic, we did a lot of online programming. We did monthly master classes for all kinds of things. We ran a big Halloween contest, all kinds of things just to keep some levity in the community. We are stopping those this year. We're passing the Halloween contest on to another organization. Our online programming is done. We've spread ourselves very thin. So we are moving into 3 things. First of all, our grants, which is something we always will do, the Franklin Cultural Festival and the Metro West Arts and Culture Symposium. And I'll be talking a little bit about each of those tonight. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about our grants to start with. Well, before I turn the slide, I'll tell you our grants have become very competitive in Franklin. The year before the pandemic hit, we had 60 applicants. 60. That's like, 40 more than other towns are getting, which means we say no to a lot of people, or we partially fund a lot. During the pandemic, we got 30. Last year, we were back up to 40. That's a lot. We're very strict with our grants. We have guidelines that we have to follow through the Massachusetts Cultural Council. Because we get so many applications, we really spend a lot of time on each one. Each board member goes home, reads the grants. We come back, we deliberate quite a lot. We score each grant. We decide what's going to bring the most back to our community. We vote on our grant priorities each August. We just finished voting, and I gave you a copy of our priorities for the year. We put a lot of time into them this year. We are about to have some changes in staff at the Cultural Council, so we are really making sure things like grant priorities, those could be used for following years. We made them very broad and inclusive, so they could be used again if necessary. So let me tell you a little bit about our grants for last year. So for fiscal year 22, we granted just over $23,000 in arts and cultural programming that took place within Franklin or had benefits specifically to Franklin residents. That's a lot of money. Maybe not in the big picture of the Franklin budget, but for arts and culture and what I see other cultural councils around us giving out, that's a lot. I do look and see what the other towns, I see like $8,000. Most of the smaller towns that I look into use just their grant money from the state. We also are able to use the money that the town gives us as well, which is why we're able to give that big number, and we thank you for that, and the community thanks you for that. We put $10,000 of our $10,000 of the $15,000 the town gives us, we put to supplement grants this last year. So Last year, we received just over $14,000 from the Mass Cultural Council. We used about $13,000 of that. We were allowed to use some of it for admin costs and other things. We received 15 from the town, which is our normal amount. We used 10, which is a little high. We usually give a little less than that, and that gave us a total of $23,470 of grant programming in Franklin. Again, which is really incredible. I want you to know I often receive emails from other towns asking how we're able to do that, how we're able to put on a festival, how we have so much programming, and I'm always able to say because our town supports it, so thank you for supporting it. Last year we had 40 applications and we funded 26 programs. All right, so we do say no. Sometimes there's always at least 3 that just don't fall into the application. We always have someone apply for Franklin County, which we are not. They just don't read the. So there's always a few that we throw out right from the start. The grant process is long. It might seem like we sit down and we look at the grants, but really the grant process for us starts now. We just voted on our priorities. We're currently marketing our grants. They open September 1st. The deadline is October 15th. So we have like 6 weeks of kind of calm, well, except for the cultural festival, which is very much not calm. And then after the 15th, it's also just quiet, and we wait for the MCC to give the grants back to us. We don't have access to them at all. We get a file. I really like to give everybody a hard copy that wants it, so we work with the printer. Everybody gets 2 huge books of grants. We give the board 2 or 3 weeks to read them. We schedule 3 meetings over like a 6-week period, and we deliberate. We really deliberate. Then we get back together and we go over it one more time to make sure everybody's, sometimes we say, well, we'd like to give them more. We're not sure we can do that. Let's wait to get through the whole thing first. That last meeting, we go back and we kind of flush out who's getting what. We do have some new policies that we're learning and working with the MCC. They're really tightening the belt in a good way. This year, for the first time ever, Sarah and I will have to choose how much we're giving out in grants soon, like in September. We don't know what we're getting this year from the MCC, so we don't know how much of our town money we'll use. We've never been asked that before, so we might decide we're giving out $20,000 this year, and that's that. We can't give out any more or less once we put that in the forms. In the past, we've had wiggle room, so if Glenn wrote a really great grant, we could be, oh, we can spare like $1,000 extra for Glenn. We won't be able to do that moving forward. So they're really tightening the belt, and we are really tightening the belt as well, just so there's a lot of transparency, works in progress for us. So I'm going to skip one slide, Sarah, and come back to you, because the budget is the not fun stuff. I want to tell you some of the fun things we do with your money. So I just picked 4 grants that I thought, at 4 out of the 26. So just quickly, the Girl Scouts got a grant this year. They took a guided tour through De Cordova Sculpture Park in Lincoln, Mass. To learn about outdoor art. The group is going to develop an outdoor art piece and have it placed in the sculpture park. Something we haven't been asked before. First time the Girl Scouts have asked. I post our grant awards online. Got a lot of likes for this. It was one of our most popular programs. The Franklin Farmers Market got a bigger grant this year. It's the 2nd year. This year we were able to give them a bigger grant and cover the entertainment and music for the entirety of their season. And I wanted to show this to you because I think it's the most visible use of our grant money. The Farmers Market's great. They post big signs saying this is money's coming from the MCC and the FCC, which is part of the grant requirements. You have to give credit back to the MCC. Farmers Market's out there every week. They put their stakes in the ground, and there's entertainment, and it's really changed our community on Fridays. I hope you have the chance to walk up to the Farmers Market. It's transformative, really. I've seen more change in the culture of our community in the last 2 years because of the market and the entertainment. People love it, and we hope to continue granting that because, again, that's I can't remember how many markets they have, maybe 18. They get music every week and signage from the FCC. It's a nice give back. I wanted to mention this because I'm guessing you might have some questions tonight about the cultural district as well. So they received a big grant this year. Their grant money went to support the event Art Walk 2022. It's a 3-day event. It features visual arts, live performance, creative events all over the town. Art Walk this spring collaborated with the Strawberry Stroll, the Farmers Market, and the opening of Sweeney Todd at the Black Box. It was a very busy weekend. Events were held at the Historical Museum, Escape to Fiction Bookstore, the Franklin Public Library, as well as the unveiling of the Ladybug Trail. So we really love to fund things like this because look how many people are involved in that. It really is a collaborative effort. Our money goes a lot further with these types of things. So that's an example of the type of grant we would give to the Cultural District. And I got one more for you. We funded the Massachusetts Educational Theater Guild. This is a regional grant, which is why I wanted to show this to you. It's a regional theater event. The event drew high school students from 8 regions to Franklin. It was a big event. It was hosted at the Franklin High School. The grant helped to fund the Mass High School Drama Festival, which was hosted in the spring of 2022. That was in all the papers and all over social media. It won a lot of awards. Franklin won some awards there as well. So those are just 4 examples of the types of things that we fund. So I just want to go back a couple slides, and I'm going to hand it over to Sarah, who's going to talk about the budget a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for having us this evening. It's a pleasure to speak in front of the council. So I had handed you 2 pieces of paper as well, which was what I think is the fun part, actually, is the numbers.
That's why we work
This is
well
why Kay and I
together.
work well together, absolutely. So what you see in front of you is our actual numbers from FY22 and then our budgeted numbers for FY23. The reason that I handed you both is because the grant cycle actually runs across fiscal years. So we grant, we notify grantees of their awards in March, and they have until the following March to apply for reimbursement for their expenses. So when Kay talks about we spent, approximately $10,000 of our town allotment, you'll see that actually only $2,700 was paid out in FY22, but we anticipate that $7,660 will be paid out in FY23. So if you see some large numbers of like our year-end balances, a lot of that number that is actually encumbered funds that we have given to our grantees. We're just waiting for them to apply for reimbursement. So just to summarize our FY23 budget, we do have that, almost $9,000 in approved grants from previous fiscal years that we're planning to pay out this year. We have over $40,000 for the Franklin Cultural Festival that we are spending and giving back to the community this September. And then in March, we will spend approximately $3,000 on the Metro West Arts and Culture Symposium. So we are still, Kay mentioned, we're still waiting to hear on our allotment from the state of Massachusetts. I had put an average amount in there just to, show how we're planning on paying that out. And we do have some administrative costs coming in, but overall, I think we're in a really good place fiscally. I think we've been spending our money wisely. And so that we're not in any kind of precarious position, but that we do give as much of our budget back to the community as we possibly can.
Any questions with the budget?
Any questions from the council on the budget?
Looks good. Not the budget.
Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome. Can you elaborate a little bit further and break down the income for the festival? Because I know it's not just money allotted from the town and money, moving money around. I know there's a extremely large amount of work that goes into getting sponsorships and various other things. So can you just detail that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Our current sources of income are sponsorships from the community, from local businesses. We have sponsorships coming in from community members, individuals, and buying flowers for our community unity garden. This year we'll also be selling t-shirts for the first time. So we've just put those up for sale today. Already got a couple of orders, so get your orders in. What else am I missing, Kay?
So those are our three ways we're bringing money in. We also got a $10,000 state line item, which in the Massachusetts state budget this year, which was completely unexpected. So, yeah, we averaged that we would probably spend 30 putting it together this year. We're at 40, which is good. We have that 10,000 extra, and we are bringing in sponsors. So I think at the end of the day, my estimation is that this will be about 30. We bring in money from our vendors, artisan vendors, food trucks, and the beer garden that comes in as well. I feel like there was something I wanted to say as well. Oh, I thought it would be wise to show you tell you, I guess, you know, we're keeping close track of each expense. Right now, the last time I added it up, we were around $13,000 for the entertainment on the main stage. And right about the same number for our town payments, because we are paying police, firemen, DPW, we work very closely with them. Right now, we're kind of neck and neck, which last year we didn't do quite that analysis, so it's interesting just to see how that's playing out this year. Certainly that extra $10,000 we got from the state has allowed us to do some new things I'm going to show you in just a minute. We're excited to see. I hope you'll come this year, and we're really using the second festival as a little bit of a sounding board. I'm getting daily requests for what else could I do this? Could I do this? Could I be involved? Could there be a second stage? Just every day. No. This year I just am asking, please come, be my eyes and ears, be our eyes and ears. We want to see how this feels for the second year. We want to see how the budget flushes out. Yeah, we're going to have a debriefing certainly at the end of September and kind of decide what else the festival could absorb, or maybe not. Maybe that's as far as we want to go. So we're interested just to kind of see. We've put everything out there this year. Because of COVID last year, we were really, really careful with our planning. No kids' activities, which was hard to do. No face painting, don't breathe on me, none of that stuff. This year we have free face painting. We have a sponsorship, so kids, we have 2 face painters there for 6 hours. Every child in Franklin can have their face painted. What else do we have? A storyteller. We have 11 children's artisan booths that signed up. They pay $25, and they have, that's like triple the amount we had last year. So we have like a whole kids corner that's being sponsored. So, you know, those things have taken a little bit more money as well. But obviously we can't hold a festival without having family activities. So we're really excited this year to do that. So we got a little off track there,
Yeah.
but that's where some of the money's going.
Yeah, and coming in.
I do think it's worth noting, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we had about 8,000 people attend the festival last year.
Yes.
Bringing in thousands and thousands of dollars to not just the food trucks and the beer garden, but to other restaurants, to
Yes.
supporting the Black Box,
Yeah.
to supporting musicians, buying art. It was good for the town from an economic standpoint, because, as well as obviously a cultural standpoint,
Yeah.
but that event generated a lot of money and
it
put
really
money
did.
out into a lot
Yeah.
of people's pockets that really needed it. So I think that's
Yeah.
to be commended for that.
Thank you. We joke a little bit because we made $94 at the Cultural Festival last year. 94. You heard that correctly. Which was fine. We're all good. We have your support, and we knew that we took donations, and that's what we got. But we did ask for a lot of feedback. First one, we emailed the whole artisan group. You heard me talk about this with Kobe earlier. When was that? In the fall. The artisan vendors told me things that I would not know, not being an artisan vendor. This was akin to the big sales that I would do on the Cape. So, again, none of us here are artisan vendors, but that's apparently where you go if you really want to. We're learning, you know, they book way out. We have to start our application for this in like February, March, because the really good vendors book themselves out. Lots of comments like that. One of our vendors told us they made $3,200. That's a lot of money
Yeah,
for a
for one day.
6-hour
Yeah.
festival.
Sure.
Yeah, the artisans were over the moon. They cleaned up, and we that was purposeful. We kept the fee low. We know artists are hurting after the pandemic. The food trucks all sold out. We're hoping that's all taken care of this year. We've really let them know there will be 8,000 people. Honestly, we aren't. I am either terrified it will rain, and I'm planning for that, or we're going to have 20,000 people, and how will our town possibly be able to deal with that in terms of, I really don't know what to expect. So we're just trying to keep it like, we're going to plan for 8,000, maybe 10, somewhere in that ballpark, and we'll see what happens. It's definitely nerve-wracking. A lot of people counting on us to make money.
Councilor Cormier-Ledger, you all
That's
set?
it, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from councilors? Councilor Frongillo.
Thank you for this. Thank you for the presentation, for all the work. It seems like the budget is in order. You know, for the most part, we have, you know, enough money to do the things that we want to do, or at least to have a manageable impact. What isn't reflected in the funds is volunteer hours. Seems like the budget's sustainable. How sustainable are our volunteers?
Well, that is a topic. I appreciate you putting that up. I do have a couple more slides to talk about some of the things we're doing. No, but this is a big conversation right now. We don't know if that we can do the third festival. I mean, this is like my full-time job this summer. I'm taking my first summer off of teaching ever, and I haven't worked harder. It's like, phone calls about porta potties. It's just down to like the little, the details of this. So, we're not making any decisions. We're going to do it, and then we're going to talk and hopefully involve you in that conversation too. Like, what do we do with this now? We're not sure. One possibility is that the Cultural Council goes back to doing grants only, which will be great because we have a great funding, but I don't know. We're definitely at a transition. The end of these slides is going to tell you that I'm going to step down this year because I'm ready. I'm trying to open up some space in my life for some music and some career changes. We're working on a new chair. These types of things are hard when we've created such a monster of things that the community very much wants. And we love them, but we aren't sure how sustainable they are with volunteers. So it's something for us to think about. In the meantime, we're just trying to do a great job doing what we're doing. We appreciate the support, the monetary support. I appreciate people stopping to think about how much money is coming into Franklin from arts and culture. I think that's something we always are pausing to try to think about. It's more and more. So we don't know is the answer. We're going to get through the second festival and then maybe meet. We certainly will be talking about sustainability on our end. We are reaching volunteer burnout for sure. The Cultural Council, I have to think it's kind of like a contact sport being on the Cultural Council. You got to really be into volunteering. It's hours, and there's once something's over, the next thing starts, and sometimes two things are happening at once. So definitely, it's a really active committee. Yep.
Okay, why don't you finish your slides?
Sure.
Okay.
So I'll finish these quickly. I'm going to give you some quick stats. So Saturday, September 10th, 12 to 6. That's where you're going to be. Town Common. We're featuring 6 hours of cultural entertainment on the main stage, 10 food trucks, a beer garden, 52 artisan vendors, and 15 nonprofit community cultural booths. That is called the Community Cultural Lane. This is new this year. It highlights not only organizations within the cultural district, but also local nonprofit arts organizations. These are free booths for our arts and culture nonprofit. The Historical Museum is having a booth this year. The Arts Association, we've really pulled everybody in today. I think we got the LGBT Alliance is coming in with a booth. So that should be a really nice part of the festival. I hope you'll walk down. It's informational and promotion for those organizations. Because of that extra money we received from the state, we were able to do something we've wanted to do for a long time. We've hired 3 living statues, which I'm going to show you pictures of in just a second. And there's an amazing company in Rhode Island that does this for giant companies like Nike. It's not cheap. We have hired Benjamin Franklin and Betsy Ross and Harriet Tubman. The 3 of them are coming to our festival as living statues. So they will be they'll be on the Common 3 to 4 hours. Obviously, they're real people, so they can't stay still the whole time. But we expect this to be a really big draw. People are going to want to take their selfies, especially next to Ben Franklin. Before finishing up the cultural festival, I wanted to make sure we are selling the T-shirts because we're trying to raise money, but we also would like to give the town council and our town administration, Alicia, you too, T-shirts this year as a thank you for your service. And I've given you each a card there with a free code, so you just go onto the website. You can get as many as you want for your family. Thank you. Thanks for your service. So enjoy the T-shirts. They're nice this year. All right, and quickly I'll finish this up. So Metro West Arts and Culture Symposium, this was created this year from our Arts Advocacy Day, something we've been doing for a couple years. We felt that that event was getting stale. We were bringing the same people in, so we upped the game quite a bit. We made this a regional event. We worked in collaboration with the Cultural District, who is incredibly helpful. They roped in the high school. We had 40 Franklin High School students volunteering. We had the Franklin High School Jazz Band and String Ensemble play for the audience. The participants, which were all arts and cultural leaders from around the state, came from Worcester, Milford, Framingham, Natick, Medway, Foxborough, Hopkinton, and more. We really brought a lot of people in from different places. The attendance wasn't huge. It was a difficult time to have this in May. We had, I guess, maybe 100 people. We had the executive director of Mass Cultural Council come and give the keynote speaker. He was a big draw. Participants were treated to 4 workshops. We had the executive director of Hopkinton Center for the Arts come. We had 2 people from Mass Cultural Council give master classes, and we had Steve Sherlock give a lecture as well. So the feedback from this, we've been asked to repeat the event. All the local cultural councils have said, we really loved this, please bring us together again. We've been asked to lengthen the workshops. People didn't feel like there was enough time for questions. At the end, they wanted more, which is always a good thing. They tell us they will return and they would like a longer event, which was surprising. We've been asked to host it earlier in the spring, and the Mass Cultural Council has expressed interest in partnering with us again, which is a great thing for our town. Last slide. So some of the most important work we do is the quiet work that doesn't get seen, and that's the meetings throughout each week where we're collaborating with other organizations in town. So we meet monthly with the Cultural District. That's been something new this year. We have a 2-hour meeting once a month. We've held 3 cultural booths with them at the Farmers Market this summer. We're also working closely with them with our festival coming up. I'm meeting regularly, speaking with our 2 performance venues, the Black Box and the Circle of Friends Coffee House, actively working on new collaborations with Dean College, and working closely with Franklin TV to film events and to take the programming a step further. So that's happening every week, meetings. Those have been really important, like maybe the most important work of everything you're seeing. And that's it. Oh, and I'm quitting. No, and I'm stepping down in March, but I am trying to stay through the next symposium, and we're actively working on new leadership.
Great. Thank you, Kay.
You're welcome.
Further questions? Councilor Chandler.
3, Mr. Chairman. Hi, ladies, thanks. That was great. I know you guys do a lot of free work just like us. Quick question. Do you have a dedicated space right now for like art and music that you guys run, like a storefront? No. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Jamie. Is the town allowed to give them any space? And I'll tell you what I was thinking right after you say yes or no.
I have a guess where that might go, but the town, we're not prohibited by any means. They're a town board, a town committee. It's not often that town boards or committees, if you will, occupy office space in a town hall or a satellite building. Usually it's at some cases like a meeting space of another arts facility that might be a nonprofit, and they use that, kind of like the library board of directors meets at the library, the historical commission meets at the museum, that type of thing. But I'm not sure off the top of my head where I could put them right now.
No, right now, but I was thinking about, I mean, like a funky building would be the police station when we move out of there. Like they, seriously, like they could have arts in there, they could have poetry, they could do all kinds of things. They could even host some of the state cultural council things there. It's just, you know, I mean, parking right next to the sculpture park. No, I'm just thinking out of the box a little there and just, it's not a bad. No, I mean, it's very, like I said, it's a funky place, and it's kind of a hard building to repurpose.
We'll take the jail cells out. We'll definitely, if we give it to them, unless, Kay, you have a couple ideas.
They can do some mime stuff in there,
I need to bring back Halloween.
Halloween. Actually, the police did have Halloween there. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a thought to keep in the back of your head later on as we move along. And one last thing, Mr.
Sure,
Chairman.
go ahead.
This is, Councilor Frangilla might find this a little interesting. I saw under the Cultural Council rules, actually, the volunteers are only able to do 2 3-year terms, and then they have to step down.
Yes.
I don't know
Yes.
if you knew that. So I found that very interesting, because you're always looking for volunteers. Like, how many people do you have on your committee right now?
Well, we're experiencing a turnover right now, so we'll be at 7 or 8. We have to have 5.
Have to have 5? You
yeah,
can have
we-
up to 22, I saw, so.
Well, we could have that, that would be a disaster. So we're
Oh,
keeping it
okay.
under 10. Yeah, we don't, it's like too many cooks in the kitchen.
I
So
see.
I will say to Jamie's point, though, more and more people have asked recently, how can I help? And we did have someone come visit with us that thought they might want to be on the board and came and said, "Whoa, way too much work, how can I still help?" And that's great. She's really good with online stuff. So I said, could you just spread what I'm already putting online? So incredibly helpful. And you can see with 2 events, plenty of, I love to give our volunteer hours to high schoolers so they can get their community service hours, or to the elder in our community that would like to have something to do. It's a win-win for everybody. So festivals, symposiums, a great place for people to volunteer.
Thank you, Kay.
Thanks again, ladies. Thank you,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Jamie, I know you wanted to respond quickly to that
Yes.
comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just on the term limit, as Councilor Chandler, just so everybody's aware, that's that the Cultural Council is put forth out by the state. That's the state's guidebook. That wasn't a decision that the local group made or the town made. That's a framework that the state puts out. There's no enforcement on it, really. And ultimately, people have to remind themselves that that book and that guidebook is for the whole Commonwealth. So I'm just going to use them just as an example. If you go to Brookline, people really lobby pretty heavily for the Cultural Council seat in Brookline. They're very, very competitive. So when they say there's a rotation of 2 terms, that's to also keep honest in certain communities, to have, not 9 people stockpile a committee for 30 years.
Yeah, that was chapter 10, section 58, just for you.
Wow.
Good insight.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Sheridan.
Hi, could you explain more what the cultural district is?
Yes, I knew someone would ask that, so I've printed myself out a document to tell you. I'm ready. So the cultural district, I know this is a source of confusion. So this summer, I've been trying to ask everybody, just describe yourself in just a couple words to make this easier to explain. So for me, if you're asking me, who is not on the cultural district, we do grants and we do events. The cultural district does not do events. They do support and promotion. Okay, so their new, what they've got written down recently, Cultural District is a specific walkable area in downtown Franklin, beginning around Ruggles Street, traveling through the center of town to Franklin High School. It's an area where most of Franklin's arts and culture events happen, and where most arts and cultural businesses and organizations are located. The best example I can give you is the symposium that we did this spring. I think even for me, it made it clearer, our roles together. They supported me. I said, what help do you need? I don't know. Could we help you with the high school? We know the administration there. Yes. They took care of that for me. They got the high school bands. They know the director of the music there, so they just made that amazing. I had nothing to do with it, but continual questions of how can we support you, and I think they do that for the historical museum, for all the other places as well. So it's more a facilitator role, support and promotion. Again, not events. We're doing the events, we're doing the grants. I think I'm trying to just put it in 2 camps, because it is, it's hard for the people involved in it to understand, so it's, we can
So a
understand
specific
when-
area? That's
Yep,
what- that's what it's-
specific
yeah,
area.
yeah,
When I
like
think of the cultural district, I, in my head, keep a map, like historical museum, black box, FSPA, library, Dean College, high school. Just up there, and hopefully, I apologize if I forgot anybody on that, but I try to keep that in my mind. There are partners, which is where it gets a little confusing, but those are the big ones of the historical center, and that's why we were given the state designation. And there are only, I wish I knew the exact number, but it is under 10 cultural districts in Massachusetts. It's a big deal.
They had to, meet certain state statutes and apply for this status to have this geographic area be designated as such, so.
All set, Councilor Sheridan? Councilor Jones.
Hi, Kay. Thank you for all the hard work you guys put in, seriously. As far as the district is concerned, I also believe that includes the Commons as well as
Yes.
any
Yep.
Dean College in that area. Listen, all I can say is after the presentation and having seen all the hard work that's gone into the Cultural Council as well as the festival last year is just wow. Really, I cannot even begin to express to you guys and to all the volunteers and everyone who stepped up to the plate to make all this happen. Just the number alone, 8,000 people
Yeah.
who came to the town of Franklin last year, despite the fact that we were on the latter end of COVID.
Yes.
And in just the turnout, just the tremendous amount of activity that occurred that day. I'm sorry you only got $94, but I'm so happy.
I'm aiming for 100 this year.
I'm so happy at the turnout, and I'm really, really looking forward. It is one of the things that is a glaring red circle on my calendar for events to attend this year and participate in, and of course help out in any way that I can. I am sad to hear that you are stepping down.
I'm not going away, though.
I hope not.
I will be, I'm not sure if I'll stay on the board yet, but I will be a support. I will be there. I'm not moving away. I will still be helping.
Because you said earlier that we may or may not be visiting Jurassic Park this fall.
For Halloween, I think the Lions Club might take it over.
Oh, okay.
It's become,
Hopefully.
you know, if you think about where that event lands, it's the cultural festival, this giant monstrosity of Halloween contest,
Yep.
which we never expected, and then grants. It's just too much. It's too much.
I don't even think everyone, even here at the council level, let alone the community, even understands the tremendous amount of enjoyable events that occur
Yes.
within the town of Franklin.
Yes.
The Halloween festivities where people are decorating your house and getting awards. That was a very enjoyable event last year. Thank you for inviting me and going out and giving out awards with Jeff. That was a lot of fun. I really honestly think and hope one of the things that we should do more so as a council and as a community is outreach to the community to say, hey, listen, there are opportunities available for you to step up and fill a role in the volunteer thing, and I understand you don't want 22, but if you have a skill set, if there's a way you can contribute to this in such a substantial way that we can continue these events,
Yep.
then we need to promote that. And I hope that next year we'll be able to continue this event. And again, if you need any further help, by all means, I'm here to help. And
I
I'm sure
got
the
you on my
council will
cell
be as well.
phone.
I know
I'm
you
getting
do.
help this year
Just
from
text
you.
me.
No,
That's not a
I
problem.
want to finish by saying I continually, I just feel, I'm not from Franklin, I'm not a townie. I think this is my 19th year here, but I am continually surprised at what a gold mine we sit on here for arts and culture. We have support from you, we're given money from our town, and we have multiple performance venues. We are unlike any suburb in Metro West. I just feel like, again and again, like, this is incredible. It's really incredible. I think we have something really special. So why not use it, use all these places? I will say the collaborations with the Cultural District this year have been helpful. I feel like everything's getting stronger.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Any other councilors? Councilor Pellegrini?
I wanted to thank you for coming tonight and explaining things that I think a lot of us didn't really know. I understand all the work that's involved, and it starts the day after your festival for the following year. And I don't know how they're letting you go after only 2 years. I chaired the 4th of July for 25 years. I was told I had to do it, but it's the same thing. The day after the
I'm out of there.
festivities started the whole thing to book the bands and do all this
Yeah,
other stuff.
yeah, we're
It's a
already
lot
planning
of work,
bands for the next
and
year.
As long as you enjoy doing it,
Yes.
it's fine. But if you have other things that you have in the horizon there, then.
I have both. I enjoy doing it and I have, it's very hard to say no. It's really great to be able to bring things to town that bring people joy.
Wonderful. Why not Horace Mann coming to Franklin?
Wasn't available.
He wasn't available.
It was not a Horace
Johnny would
Mann.
be happy to dress as Horace Mann.
Horace, now there was a
Now
man.
there was a man.
I heard he left Franklin to go to Boston
Oh,
anyways.
God. But seriously, thank you
It would
for
be
all
great.
of your work.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
It would be great for you guys to get a photo around Ben Franklin this year. If you all happen to be there, that would make a
Yeah,
great
we
photo
could
shot for the town council.
Meet there together.
Thank you again.
You're welcome.
Councilor DeLorco?
Thank you. Through Mr. Chair, I just wanted to say you guys do a great job. And, sorry to see you leave, but it is a lot of work, it's a lot of work. I mean, Debbie did it for 25 years, we were trying to get rid of her after the second one. But, no, just I hate to see you go, but I'm glad you're sticking around.
Yeah, I have
Because,
no plans to.
I know
go away.
it's a lot of work, but at least you'll have some free time anyway. Somebody usually always steps up, you'll find somebody.
We are in
So-
the works, yep.
But great job.
Thank you
Thank you
so
for all you
much.
do.
Thank you. One final comment, Councilor Frangillo.
Just a quick final comment. I'm hoping you can confirm at the fantastic symposium, the Mass Cultural Council leader was asked, what are towns who are doing better at culture, what do they have that other towns don't? And I believe the three that he gave were a dedicated space, a director, a dedicated staffer in town. And now I am failing to remember and a master plan, organizing all cultural activities. I want to confirm those were the three.
I think that is
and maybe keep those on the minds of some of my
Yeah,
colleagues.
we do, if anyone's interested, that was videoed, his speech. Pretty interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Ladies, thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much
Thank you.
for all the work you do. Being very close to the arts, they set the hook. Obviously, you're looking for one of those that you can set, and I totally get it, understand it. But what this community has been able to do with arts and culture, just take the last 8 years. What's happened in this community is just beyond belief. And if you talk to people outside of this community, how did you do it?
Yep.
How did all of this happen? And this
It's-
little town,
Yep.
this city they call the town of Franklin.
Exactly. I think arts and cultural leaders are used to making a lot out of a little money. That is in our blood. So, $15,000, I understand, is a very small portion of the Franklin budget, the overall budget, but we can do a lot with that.
Yep.
We are able to do a lot with that. So again, we appreciate it. It's not something other towns get. So when you wonder why it's working, that's why.
And Kay, please don't go too far.
I'm not going.
Okay.
I won't let her.
Okay, thank you very
Great,
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Okay, next presentation is Green Community Status. Jamie Helen and Alicia Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we're just deciding to move over here just to change it up a little bit. Seeing as how Kay and Sarah came up to the middle table, and I asked Alicia, do you want to stay here or go over here? And she said, let's go over here. So we're going to change it up a little bit. So
I'm glad to see Alicia in the seat of power.
I figured I was going to
Yeah,
put her in the
okay.
middle because she's going to end this thing off. So very exciting presentation tonight on Franklin Green Community Status. I'm going to do the first half or first third of it, which really occupies most of my tenure here, or Jeff's tenure. And then about halfway through, I'm going to pass it over to the new coordinator of Green Communities, Alicia Aline, right next to me, who's been doing a great job over the last year or so, coordinating a lot of our green efforts. Also tonight in the audience, Did Kay turn it off? No?
Oh, go ahead, blame Kay.
Alicia, I cannot believe this is happening to another one of these. What do you think? Are we back over at that table? How did that just work for her, but it didn't work for us?
Use the arrows.
Hold on there.
Use the arrows on the keyboard.
Bad batteries.
That computer's running it.
Oh, I see.
So that works. It's these two buttons, right? Isn't that bizarre? All right. We're gonna go
We'll
back
migrate
over
over.
there. Should have never got up from where we began.
But those are really
That'll
pretty
teach you to
leaves.
move.
That'll teach you to move. Stay in your seat, everybody. All right. So green communities really began way back when, in 1998, when the town of Franklin, actually the Franklin Public School District, you might know something about that, Mr. Chairman, hired a man by Mike D'Angelo. As I was just about to say when I was clicking the button, Mike's also in the audience tonight. I put this up here as an important marker that down the road, Mike will retire at some point, although engineers kind of never retire. But everybody in the community really needs to understand almost every single building, field, or public facility in Franklin has virtually been rebuilt during Mike's tenure. And I think we said it, and we say it about him very often, there's really nobody better in the business than Mike. And his leadership and mindset on these issues, in addition to many others, like my predecessor and many other staff, were really on the cutting edge and the forefront of this stuff. So going back to 1998 is when Mike was hired. He was hired as in 2008, the community made the decision to merge the town and school facilities. The organizational philosophy really developed to maximize energy efficiency, but also it was really a money thing. For those of you that worked with Jeff and myself and certainly many others, there is a financial efficiency that comes from this. Controls, boilers, mechanicals are all updated in the school and town facilities. We're actually doing this building right now to continue those investments. And over the course, the community should really know that this community has spent millions upon millions and millions of dollars, maybe even an unquantifiable amount of money on Capity facility investments into energy efficient technology. Obviously at that time, we can't hold today's standards back 20 years ago. We'll talk about it in a minute, but the 2014 also, most people are familiar with the Union Street Solar Farm. It was predicted to be a 7 or 8 megawatt farm, now powers over 11 megawatts. And basically that solar farm feeds all of the electricity use for all town and school facilities, including all the street lights, all the lights in every building, all the electricity. So it's a pretty cool project if you really think of it that way. Most people don't know that, but it's pretty astounding. And so Franklin should be really proud of that project. That just came on a little under about 10 years ago. And the Solarize Massachusetts program also before 2018, we're over 80 homes of solar. Give a shout out to Brett Feldman. When he was a council, I believe that was one of his initiatives at the time, and that was just about when I got to Franklin. And I somehow convinced Jeff to apply to become a green community. We'll talk about it in a minute, but the biggest reason why Franklin was not a green community before 2018 was the energy reduction plan, in which it was hard for Franklin to come up with a 20% energy reduction plan because all of our buildings were already in really great shape. And in fact, a little fun fact, the energy reduction plan actually came in at about 19%. We clawed and got up to about that, to the point where you could ask a waiver from the state. And the state hadn't given any waivers, and so they really begged us to get 19.5% so they could round up to 20% and chalk it off as not having to do a waiver. So at that time, and DOER will tell you, it was one of the more challenging energy reduction plans in the state. But there's a photo op of us getting the grant award right here in the council chamber. And for folks who want to go over, we also put the award over on the wall up there, designating the town as a green community, which was a huge landmark in the community. Energy reduction plan. So here's a series of projects: LED lighting retrofits, transformer upgrades, adopting the stretch code, upgrade of all mechanicals and boilers, motion sensors, electrical controls, and electric vehicles, as well as many sewer and water station pump upgrades. Those are the main criteria. Those are kind of boiled down a little bit more expansive than the actual criteria, but those are the big issues. The other one, as many of you remember who were here and voted on the green community status, was the adoption of the stretch code. And so we all know that the state is looking at a new stretch code, and I'm sure over the coming years, the community will be discussing among itself adopting another line of stretch code. But As many of you remember, that was not a simple thing, and it really took a tremendous amount of work from many of the staff, Gus, Brian, the building commissioner, a lot of you on the council, talking with many builders and residential homeowners throughout the community who were concerned. And I am proud to say that on the night of the vote, several of you remember, there was not one single person in the audience that was objecting to you adopting that stretch code that night. And that was a great sign for the community. So I just went through really quickly on some of the solar farm, at least on Union Street. We also have one on Mount Street that's much smaller that we get the electricity from, and some credits. And there's also two larger private solar farms in town. The one up on Spring Street is the largest one, where most residents are expecting a next stamp resident discount, hopefully soon. And also we got a state forest parking lot out of that contract as well. Municipal aggregation, many of you know since I've been here, we've been working a lot on this. I think we went out to bid for 3 years before we finally landed a phenomenal deal for the community. So our municipal aggregation, which if folks want to find out more information, just go to franklinma.gov. There's a link right there on the homepage to municipal aggregation. A year and a half ago, or November 2020, the entire town, unless you opted out, received a 10.725 cents per kilowatt deal, which obviously people are paying a much higher rate right now. But also we were incredibly fortunate to get an electricity deal, an energy deal out of that was 100% renewable energy from wind sourcing out in the Midwest. We were constantly holding out for a long time on this. We didn't think we were ever going to get a green rate, and then we just got lucky at the right place at the right time. I want to give a huge shout out to Colonial Power out of Marlborough, Mass., who many of you remember presented that night. They have incredible customer service. They've been great to work with, and they've really done a phenomenal job on behalf of the town. The big challenge moving forward is going to be that November 2023 date. I'll show you the savings in a minute, but that's when the town, probably about a year from now, is going to have to start looking at contracts again. So what happens? We're going to end up going out to bid. We're going to end up testing the market. It's going to be a very different market, as everybody knows. That doesn't mean we have to take any of those deals. But we're going to obviously go out in about 6 to 8 months from now and see what the market brings again. But I do want to brace the community that in November 2023, the 10.7 per kilowatt rate will go away if there is no other deal in place, or if there is no better aggregation pricing at that time. We also got word from Mark that our initial opt-out rate in town was only 5.6%, and normally that percent is double in a lot of communities. So Franklin residents really did see the value in this. And we all know what's important to most people is savings. And so if you look down at the bottom, this chart is only for those quarters, but the savings go back a little further too. If you look at the cumulative savings over the last couple of years, when you compare it to regular basic service, which is the people that opted out, the people that did not opt out saved over $1.5 million over the last year and a half on their electricity bills. So I just have to make mention that when people say we always raise rates, we don't. We actually do help people, and we do work really hard to try to get stability in people's accounts too. And we do try to recognize, and we are very sensitive to the cost of living in Massachusetts, and we do a lot of things like this that hopefully stabilize or reduce costs for a lot of folks as well. Now, because we have a 100% renewable deal, Colonial Power also shows what the savings would be versus the National Grid green basic rate. So many of you may have gotten door-to-door folks that come to your door, or you get mailers for other alternative energy deals. National Grid does offer a 100% green rate as well. Most people don't take it because it's generally a lot more expensive on your electricity bill. So essentially, the rate of 10 cents, 10.7 cents per kilowatt versus what other people are paying on the National Grid rate, that's a substantial amount of money that people can save by making sure that they're in this program. So all in all, the program has been very effective so far. And as electricity rates continue to go up over the next year and a half, having that stable 10.7 rate is certainly going to save Franklin residents a lot more money over the next 15 months. And then, Mr. Chairman, and through you to the council, the last big project you remember me probably working on, for those of you that were here, was the conversion of the LED streetlights throughout town. We own just about 2,000 streetlights throughout the community in a variety of areas, commercial, underground, most of them on the poles. The town did replace all of those streetlights in a 2-year period. We converted all of them. And really the payback on that, was about 3 to 4 years. And ultimately, the council authorized the appropriation to do it. But the great news is through the grant programs at DOER, and we'd actually never had to pay a penny for it. So really, we ended up getting an entire conversion of every street light, underground light that we owned in the community turned over to a much more efficient bulb, which has obviously a much more longer lasting life of 15 years versus the old sodium bulbs at a handful of years. In my final slide before I hand the baton over to Alicia, there's the general electricity savings from the LED conversion. We've now reached our goal of saving about $75,000 in projected annual costs. If you see the street light budget, 4 years ago, it was $125,000 in the line item, and now it's down to 50. And even that 50 is a very cautious number because we do have to replace them when poles get hit. We do have to do some shielding every once in a while for people that have glare that come through their house. We still go out and replace bulbs every once in a while that one might get broken. But we still, and as I look down forward, I think that number is even going to be larger in terms of the annual savings. Once we really get more comfortable in the post-pandemic years of the light bulb conversions, all in all, it's been a great project for the town of Franklin. This, as all of you know, was kind of the last project I personally worked on. And then when I took over as TA and when we promoted Alicia to the assistant position last year, she has a lot of interest in green communities and green energy. And so she's been working on a series of projects that some of you know, but now she's going to take over the presentation and finish it off.
All right.
Thanks, Alicia.
So Jamie touched on the LED conversions for the street lighting, but we also did LED conversions in the municipal buildings and the schools. In the town buildings, which included the town hall, senior center, library, police headquarters, and fire, as well as the DPW administrative buildings, we converted the old T8 and compact fluorescent lighting to updated LED lighting and smart fixtures where they were applicable, which provided a great savings to the town. Specifically in the buildings, we save about $69,000 a year, and with these projects, they will pay for themselves within about 5 years. And in the water and sewer departments, we have upgraded the Hayward Street water treatment facility to LED lighting, and they also use motion sensors as well, so the lights go off when there's nobody in the area, which provides an additional savings. We've also updated the motors. We've replaced 12 pump motors with high efficiency motors and installed variable frequency drives at 2 of the well stations. And to do that work, a Mass DEP grant covered about 80% of the costs, and for less than $20,000, we replaced the aging motors with higher efficiency ones. And the LED conversions at the water and sewer stations save us about $3,000 a year, and within 6 years, we should see our return on investment. And the water and sewer pump motor upgrades provide about a savings of $11,000 a year, and within 2 years, we should be seeing all of our money back in savings as well. We also did the same lighting conversions in the school buildings as we did the municipal buildings. And in the school buildings, we are projected to save an annual $200,000, and the investments that we made in those conversions should be paid back in under 7 years. And then my major role in our green communities is actually just applying for the grants. So far, we've applied for 2 grant rounds. The first one was in 2020, and we were awarded $15,000 for the purchase of 2 fully electric vehicles, and an additional $15,000 for the installation of electric vehicle charging stations. The charging stations were installed in early 2021. Same thing with the vehicles were purchased in early 2021. So both vehicles are on the road, and the charging stations were installed at the back of the municipal building and at the library. And since then, we have installed charging stations at the DPW, and we plan on installing some at the high school over the summer. In the second grant round, we were awarded it in early 2022, so early this year. We received additional funding for 2 more electric cars, smart LED lighting conversions at the Horseman School, and transformer upgrades at the Horseman, Remington Jefferson, and Keller Sullivan schools. So all of those are, I would say about 80% of the projects are actually complete. The 2 things that are still pending, well, the one thing that's still pending is the purchase of the 2 cars. So we're seeing some challenges with our green initiatives due to inflation. We've seen about a 9% rise in inflation since the beginning of the pandemic. Labor has been harder to acquire, specifically for specialized projects. And just our budget, our community is growing, we have growing needs, and we're trying to get all of those needs met by our community, our staff, and still stay within the budget. And then inventory as well. So we're seeing the inventory issue pop up with purchasing specifically the used cars. As many people are experiencing probably in their personal lives, it's just as expensive for us to go out and purchase used cars as an individual is. So we'll circle back to that later. But despite all these challenges, we have been able to complete 80% of our round 2 grant projects in the first quarter of the grant period. So the grant period actually ends in August of 2023. So we still have about a whole year to get these projects done, but 80% of them are done as of now. And then circling back to the used cars, we actually put out an RFQ in early July for the purchase of the 2 cars. And out of all the dealerships that we contacted, none of them had any inventory available with the exception of one, and they only had 1 car available. And it was double the price of the vehicles that we purchased this time last year, and also had substantial damage to the car. So we opted out of purchasing that one, and we'll go out for quotes again, hopefully this fall, and then once again in the springtime to assess the market. And we just want to make a decision that works best for the town, makes sense financially, and is within our budget. So here are some just pictures of the projects that we've done thus far. We have some of the solar farms, LED lighting, we have the 2 vehicles, the charging stations, and some of the motors that were upgraded in the well stations. And I've also included some links in the slides to, if anybody wants to expand their knowledge beyond what's in this current presentation. And after that, we are going to open up to questions.
Thank you, Alicia. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Great presentation, by the way, Jamie and Alicia. I think one of my questions I jotted down some notes over here. I think my questions to Mike. As part of the energy management program, Mike D'Angelo, Chairman.
Yeah.
If I may.
Yeah. Go ahead, ask the question.
Okay. As part of our energy management program, the lights, the LED lights and the lighting systems that have been incorporated into these various municipal buildings, have they been incorporated into our building automation system, our BAS, as a whole, for management by yourself or your department?
They have not, because, so the lights you see above us are manufactured by LG.
Right.
And so every one of these fixtures has its own motion sensor in it. And you group these fixtures. So they're, like in this room, all the fixtures from the different are grouped together, so they come on when you come in, they shut off a very short period of time after you leave. So they operate independently. Our outdoor fixtures are all in our BMS, and we control those with the parameters of time first, and then they're also controlled by a photo eye outside.
And I'm assuming that many of these systems are also well metered. Are there secondary metering systems on the light in particular?
We do not do we don't have secondary metering.
Okay, just curious. That was my overall question for you, Mike. Jamie, to you, in regards to the comment of your presentation earlier about the solar farms, where does the solar farm at Tri-County play into our energy grid? Or does it play into our energy sources?
Through you,
Is
Mr.
it one-
Chairman.
one
That's a
thing
great
or-
question. It doesn't play into our total at all. It's whatever the agreement was between Tri-County and the companies. My guess is that they probably benefit from the electricity.
Okay, so it doesn't have it's not, no direct connection to the town, is it? Okay, that was kind of my question. Other than that, has there ever been discussion of trying to meet any of the LEED standards?
Most of our buildings were built prior to LEED. So with our solar farm, with the Upper Union and the other solar farm, which we own about 12.8% of the output, we're actually already generating or taking more electricity from the grid than we actually use.
Okay.
And we get, so to explain it, the Upper Union Street Solar Farm generates, has a normal electric meter up there, generates this many kilowatt hours, and it's paid out on a small CNI, which is just under 20 cents a kilowatt. So that's what gets credited to our bills. The owner of the solar farm sends us bills for 90 cents on a dollar for that, and that's what we pay. So excess money gets credited to our bills in a reasonably substantial amount every year.
Good.
The other solar farm that we just bought into, because legislation has changed slightly, is at 93 cents on a dollar. So we're making money, which is what Jamie referred to when he said how the solar farm generates like the equivalent of 11 megawatts as opposed to the 8 megawatts that it's built as.
That's impressive. I mean, overall, your presentation, listening to the tremendous amount of efforts we put into meeting these green type standards, I must say I'm thoroughly impressed. This is a discussion we had many years ago about kind of going down this path. I'm happy to see the EV chargers are out back. It's unfortunate about the vehicles. I think it's going to be a systemic problem from here on out. But I'm very proud and very happy of the progress that we've made in this area. And this is kudos to our administration. Mike, to you. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor DeLarco.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chairman. Jamie, is there any other solar farms that we have maybe coming down the pipeline? Or Mike, do you know any for the town? I'm just kind of curious to see if we can.
Jamie?
Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, so they're not allowed, large solar farms like the ones that were permitted aren't in the town bylaws anymore. The bylaw
Okay,
was
which
repealed
bylaw?
because there's been a lot of concerns, and justifiably
Yeah,
so.
that's
And
right, we did that,
I think
yeah.
even environmentalists don't know which direction. Do you chop down the trees and build a solar farm, or do you, very challenging. And I think, I know all of you have heard comments from people about this, and so I'm not expecting anything other
than what we
any
have.
other ones that are substantially
Just
large.
so people know.
You know, I think, yeah, Mike, I don't think so.
The next thing you'll probably see is, not necessarily in Franklin, but big box stores are the next frontier. That,
Yeah.
like Kraft did Gillette, that's a PPA, that's the same type of agreement. You'll see all these big, like, shopping malls and stores putting them on their roofs, and it'll do a lot, because that's before the meter. So they won't be paying, which will actually decrease. The biggest problem we all have coming is the transmission of electricity. And the more stuff that gets put on the other side of the meter, the less transmission will actually have to happen, because, so National Grid, our newer rep, have been doing a lot of studies, and the 26 million demand that's ever been used, it's ISO New England's, the most electricity that's ever been used on a given day. When they did a study, if we did go full electric, that would have to increase by 3 times.
Yep.
And that's just an astounding thing to even think about.
Yeah, it is.
That all our transmission will have to be upgraded to that extent.
Got it.
So, not sure how that's gonna happen.
Electricians.
Electricians.
Councilor DeLarco.
Alicia, how come we were putting out bids for used cars and not new cars?
So it was a cost saving method that we done in the grant the previous year as well.
Yeah.
So we put out bids for used cars because the cars that we're currently replacing are the ones used by, well, they have relatively low mileage. So they're older cars that are up for replacement but have under 5,000 miles put on them a year. So the used cars were a good option, just because they're not high mileage vehicles and they're traditionally speaking cheaper than buying new.
How much cheaper though?
So we bought 2 for $32,000.
Oh, that's a lot cheaper than.
Instead of $28.29 a piece.
All right, but I just get new, so I don't, yeah. So I never looked at a used one, so.
When a Nissan Leaf, when it goes off, so they get leased, the guy who bought it first gets a big rebate. The value of the car plummets. And we took advantage of that, coming up with some
that makes
really
sense.
low mileage cars that don't get driven, you know, they'll run 150 miles on a charge.
Yeah.
But in all reality, they don't get 80 miles a day just running around Franklin.
All right, no, just curious.
Okay,
Thank you.
all set. Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This question, I think, is to Jamie. How are we doing? Excellent presentation, by the way, and the information is great, and everyone should be commended. But I'm just curious, like, compared to similar towns of our size, similar population, similar budgets, how are we doing with this green initiative comparatively?
I think overall, when you look at the entire portfolio of the issues that were just raised, I mean, I think, to be honest with you, I think the big part is the facilities where we're just light years ahead of other towns on these things. I think sometimes, and I say that as an entire portfolio, right? Like, there are definitely schools that have been built in the last 8 years that are gonna have the solar farm on top, right? There's new requirements from the MSBA. There are certainly towns out there that are gonna do a little better with fleet already. One thing Alicia, I think maybe neglected to mention was, National Grid just funded our town to do a fleet analysis on our vehicles. And Alicia, I don't know the timeline for that, but probably another year away, 6 months?
So the fleet analysis is actually complete.
Fleet
It's
analysis, yeah.
just they provide updates on an annual basis. So the initial analysis was complete, and then they reassess every year.
So like now we have a roadmap on how to replace more of the fleet. So other cities and towns might be a little further ahead in that, but I think as a total profile, certainly in this area, in the Metro West and in this region, I think that Franklin performs really, really well in this category.
An interesting note on the, so they did the survey, and they don't expect you to buy Teslas. They put other cars that are less costly and reliable and good electric cars that they recommend you to buy. The only problem what we've run into right now is everybody's buying electric cars or trying to. And the two cars that they recommend really aren't available. The Hyundai Ioniq 5. I saw one on the road for the first time when I was in the middle of July when I was driving up to Maine. And that's the first one I've seen. And we usually get a lot of cars back here charging. So, you know, the new Mustang, all electric.
That's a big seller.
I mean, there's a lot of the Toyota RAV4 plug-in. But there aren't, Alicia and I were talking, and right now is a really hard time to buy electric cars because everybody's going for them. So once that market changes and a lot more of them are being made, that's when you'll see more communities. The city of Newton they gotta have 30 Nissan Leafs. They have all these little white cars parked around City Hall up in Newton, but I think we have a comprehensive plan. We pay so little for electricity compared to other people right now because of the solar farms. And we do have we've been toying with a plan to build more solar generation at the DPW on canopies, but now is just not the right time. I think at the time we get a lot of vehicles that are all running on electricity, and that would be a behind-the-meter project. That's where you want to have a ton of charging because there's a ton of vehicles down there. All the school bus, the little, the vans, the special education vans. That will become a place where we could charge 100 vehicles every night once it becomes a little more mature.
Councilor Coney.
Thank you. Yep.
All set. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the presenters, thank you, it's a great presentation. I think a lot of people at home that took three things away from this. And basically, I think it was savings, savings, savings. And that's what gets people excited, not just the electric cars. It's saving money. So I was psyched, because I remember way back, a couple of us got beat up on those bills that people got when they didn't understand that you guys did save them money. And I think everyone's come around on that, which is great. We appreciate that. That's wonderful. And I think the other thing people can think about is we always used to see street lights out, always. And now you're right, I don't see any out. I can't remember the last one that I've seen out.
They're never out.
And I used to have to go around and call in when they were out so they could call National Grid to fix them. So I remember they were always out. And now I never see them. So that's wonderful too. 15 years is great.
Yeah.
Saves a lot. And lastly, I know the Leafs are made in Tennessee, but it's if we could ever still buy the GMC or the Fords, you know.
Yeah.
There's still not all union workers are making those. That's all I'm gonna say. Thank you.
I'm with you, brother.
I know, I was hoping you would chime in on that.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler.
Thank you.
Councilor Frondillo.
Thank you. Thank you for all of this. I've organized my career predicated on the idea that there's no more noble effort that this generation can undertake than to do everything and really say that it did everything in its power to reduce its carbon emissions so that future generations could live in a world that looks anything like the world that we get to live in. And truly no more noble effort that our current leaders can undertake. So I say this to say the rest of the year, or most of the year, I'm your biggest cheerleader of all of this, and there are some people here who have heard me heap praise onto the town for everything that they do, as you've enumerated, both in the town and outside the town. I do want to make it clear that there's a lot more that we could be doing. Students came, they collected data from every department in town and calculated that the town emits 350,000 tons of CO2 annually still, and they broke that down into very specific detail. UC Berkeley estimates that the average Franklin household's carbon footprint is 58.5 tons of CO2 every year. That's 58.5. For comparison, the US average is 16. The global average is 4. We're producing we have much larger household carbon footprint than even the rest of the country. Massachusetts Sierra Club identified 12 major green initiatives that municipalities can undertake, and we certainly have more than many in our area. We had 8 of the 20. Sorry, they identified 20. We had 8. But just for comparison, some that are in Metro West and of similar income and population, Natick has 16 of the 20. Medfield, Ashland have 14 out of the 20. Part of why, just one thing that they have that we don't, most towns at least have a sustainability committee where they're really leveraging local expertise and volunteer efforts and providing them some space to take us further. Just to put a pin on Natick as an example, I tout them a lot. One of the reasons why they, who have, again, similar population, similar income, have twice as many of the major green initiatives is they've hired a sustainability coordinator. The sustainability coordinator to date has got 12 times more in grants than it costs to pay them. In total, they're saving the town $500,000 every year through their projects. Just last year, we got $150,000. Natick got $500,000. They also have a net zero action plan, climate resilience planning, and again, a whole bunch more. This is incredible, and there's so many good things, and I don't want to take away from that, but I do also want to set our sights on doing as much as we can, potentially hiring a coordinator, potentially putting together a committee, and really using, focusing more of our efforts to going further on this. And as you point out, most of this comes back in savings. Almost, there's so much that we can do that if we just put the capital up front, we'll realize it back in savings. It just takes time and some money, and I think that's a worthwhile investment. Just one other thing, I was just there the other day. I do agree that maybe knocking down forests at this point isn't the best place to be putting our solar. I think tops of buildings is going to be the next major one. The other is tops of parking lots. I was just at Wayland High School, and all of their parking lots have solar canopies covering their spaces. Anyway, so just a whole bunch. I don't mean to bring the mood down by any means. There's so much to be proud of here, but I really do hope that we're ready to take on even more.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Sheridan.
Point of clarification, so who owns the solar farm?
Right now, so the solar farm on Upper Union has been sold. I think it's in its fourth owner.
Okay.
It's a company called Terraform. They were a minority owner, and over the past year, they bought out the entire farm, so they're who we pay right at this moment. The other smaller farm is still owned by Kearsarge Energy. Kearsarge actually built the Upper Union Solar Farm, and they were the first. They're the people who we worked with initially and signed an agreement with when that farm was built. So now because they knew us, they asked us if we were interested in coming in with a smaller amount on the second farm. But they had approached us, I think it was right after they became the #1 owner of Upper Union, and they're toying with going in and replacing all the panels. So in a panel that from the early 10s doesn't generate near the electricity as a panel that you buy today. So they approached us to see if, we would be on board with that and with that, they had offered, if they went ahead, they'd drop our 90% down to 85. So we'd pay them less, and we would sign up for another 10 years. The original contract was a 20-year contract, so it's got about another 10 on it. But over the long term, that Upper Union generates substantially more money than we pay for it, and we actually use all that extra pays. That's why we have 100% LED. Nobody has 100% LED, the entire town. And that's why we've been able to do more projects. In all honesty, we're running out of paybacks or projects that actually have really good paybacks. I mean, things we're looking at now, and that was the problem Jamie referred to with green communities. We'd already done so much. If you're in a community that hasn't been doing this for 20 years, it's much easier. You have so much to do to get real energy efficient. I'm the president right now of the Mass Facility Directors Association. It's all the facilities guys that do what I do. And nobody has what we have.
Yep.
I can guarantee.
Well said,
Nobody's as far ahead.
Thank you, Councilor Sheridan. Was that all? Any other?
No.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay. Thank you, Jamie, Alicia. Nice job on your first go-around, so thank you. A lot of great information, and to Councilor Frangillo's point, we've come a long way, but there's still a long way to go. And we need to keep our eyes open as we move forward and look to continue to work to strengthen our green community. So with that, we will move on to legislation for action. Bylaw Amendment 22-881, Chapter 7 Affordable Housing Trust Fund, adding vice chair and clerk positions. This is the second reading. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Bylaw Amendment 22-881, a bylaw to amend the code of the Town of Franklin at Chapter 7 Affordable Housing Trust Fund, Section 7.5, Organization, Section 7.7, Meetings and Quorum. Be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that the Code of the Town of Franklin, Chapter 7, Affordable Housing Trust Fund is hereby amended, Section 7-5, Organization, and Section 7-7, Meetings, Quorum as follows. 7.5, Organization, delete the existing paragraph and insert the following paragraph in its place. 7.5, Organization, the trustees shall annually elect one trustee to serve as chairperson, one trustee to serve as vice chair, one trustee to serve as clerk, and the town administrator shall not be eligible to serve in any of these positions. The chairperson shall preside at meetings and shall be responsible for calling all meetings except as provided in paragraph 7.7, and for timely preparation, posting of meetings, agendas, and otherwise complying with the notice requirements of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 18 through 25. The vice chair shall preside at meetings and perform the other duties of the chairperson. In the absence or recusal of the chairperson, the clerk shall have the responsibility to ensure that accurate and timely meeting minutes are prepared. The chairperson may establish subcommittees and/or ad hoc task-related committees to carry out the purposes of the trust fund. Chairpersons of the subcommittees may be selected by the members of the subcommittee. Subsection 7-7, meetings quorum, delete Mass General Law, Chapter 39, subsection 23, the opening meeting law, and replace with Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 38, subsection 18 through 25. This bylaw should become effective in accordance with the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move bylaw amendment 22-881.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chair, this is the second and final approval of adding those two positions to the town bylaw for the municipal housing trust. Thank you.
Questions or comments from the council? Okay, the vote will come on the motion to approve bylaw amendment 22-881. A majority roll call votes required. Clerk, when he's ready, will read the roll.
That's what happens when I take a vacation.
You're not allowed to anymore.
Cormier Ledger?
Yes.
Sheridan?
Yes.
Chandler?
Yes.
Frangilla?
Yes.
Pellegri?
Yes.
And one absence. Joan, Vice Chair?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
8, 1 absence, sir.
Motion carries. Bylaw Amendment 22-882, Chapter 4, Administration of Government, authorized town clerk to make format changes, second reading.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Town of Franklin Bylaw Amendment 22-882, a bylaw to amend the Code of the Town of Franklin at Chapter 4, Administration of Government, Article 4, Prosecution and Amendment of Bylaw Sections 4-13. Amendment, be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that the Code of the Town of Franklin, Chapter 4, Administration of Government, Article 4, Prosecution and Amendment of Bylaws, Sections 4-13. Amendment is hereby amended to add a second sentence as follows. Section 4-13 amendment. These bylaws may be amended in accordance with the procedures set forth in Article 2, Section 6 of the Charter. Whenever the Town Council votes to amend these bylaws, the Town Clerk is authorized to renumber, reletter, and/or take any other actions necessary to reformat the amendment and/or any existing section or sections and provisions within an existing chapter of the Code of the Town of Franklin to fit within the established format of the code. This bylaw should become effective in accordance with the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move bylaw amendment 22-882.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, this is the second and final reading of a minor bylaw change that will allow the town clerk to work with general code to re-letter or reorder anything that may have been done in error here at the council level without having to post again. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve bylaw amendment 22-882. A majority roll call votes required. Clerk will call the roll.
Sheridan?
Yes.
Cormier Ledger?
Yes.
Frangillo?
Yes.
Chandler?
Yes.
Pellegri?
Yes.
Jones, yes. Vice
Yes.
Chair? Chair.
Yes.
That's 8, 1 absence, sir.
Motion carries. Bylaw amendment 22-883. Amendment to water system map, first reading. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is bylaw amendment 22-883, a bylaw to amend the Code of the Town of Franklin at Chapter 179, subsection 179, 9.1, water system map. Be it enacted by the Town Council of the Town of Franklin at Chapter 179, section 179, 9.1, Water System Map Exhibit A map be amended by adding as an eligible location the following. 179-19.1, Water System Map Exhibit A, extending a water service line from 20 Ridgeview Road for a single water service connection to an existing main on Old Farm Road. This bylaw amendment shall not become effective until all conditions are agreed to between the property owner and the Franklin DPW are satisfied. This bylaw amendment shall otherwise become effective in accordance with the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move bylaw amendment 22-883 to a second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, Jamie.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, really quickly, I know we don't get these very often, and they're for obvious reasons, but as stated in the memo from the DPW, Mike Maglio, the issue now at 20 Ridgeview is a bit of an emergency where there's been a failing well, and so we need to have the water extension. The town engineer is here if anybody has any questions, and hopefully we can approve the extension after the gentleman has been sitting here for 2.5 hours listening to presentations on cultural he just wants he just wants clean water, so I think we can hopefully give him that. But he's still thirsty. So anyways, if you have any technical questions, the engineer's here. You know we don't do these lightly, but there are a couple of extensions around the corner, so it fits within the confines of the bylaw.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Frangillo?
I might have missed it, but how much is this costing us?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This won't cost the town anything. It'll be on the homeowner to make the connection. So they'll file the permits with DPW, pay all applicable fees, and they'll have to hire a contractor to make the connection to the water main. So it won't cost the town anything.
Okay, cool. So no extension, no build out, no maintenance.
Nope,
on
this
our
would just
end.
this would just be for a single house service connecting from the main to this property. Right now, this property doesn't have frontage on the main, which is why we have to go through this procedure.
If anything, it's more revenue.
Through the water billings, correct, and the water meter.
Cool. Thank you.
All set, Councilor Frangillo?
All set.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to move bylaw amendment 22-883 to a second reading. Majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for your patience. Resolution 22-56, gift acceptance, Police Department, equipment donation, 3 drones and related equipment. Clerk will read the gift acceptance.
Wow, this is awesome. Resolution 22-56, acceptance of gift of equipment for the police department. Whereas the police department has received a generous gift of 3 drones and related equipment. The donation summary is such: for the police department, 1 Matrix 30T with accessories, 1 Mavic Enterprise Advanced with accessories, and 1 Mavic Mini with accessories. Gifts are donated by the Stevens Family Foundation. Now therefore be resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Franklin, on behalf of the Police Department, gratefully accepts this generous donation for 3 drones and related equipment, and this resolution shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 22-56.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, it's not every day we get a donation like this. The deputy chief is here if you have any questions. But I know Deputy Chief West has been working for a while with a very generous donor who does these types of things all over the place, apparently. And we're very fortunate to be able to get this apparatus.
I think it might be, it might be good for our listeners, as well as some of the councilors, to get an idea as to what we would use these, what the
Sure.
police department would use these for. And I was sure you were waiting back there for 2.5 hours just to give us that information.
He came in at 8 o'clock.
Oh.
No. He's savvy. He came in a little later.
We use the drone technology for many different things, primarily to save lives. Search and rescue is the biggest one. Our primary focus here in Franklin And I'm also a member of the Metro-Elect drone unit, so we support the Metro-Elect towns, 40-plus towns of Metro-Elect. So critical incidents for operational overwatch. For example, in Franklin, we use it for, well, we didn't have them this year, but the fireworks, we'll put the drone up. We're able to monitor traffic, so if we see a backlog, we can deploy assets to where, we need them. Any operations of that magnitude, we can fly the drone around and have an operational view from the air, which is very beneficial. This new technology that we're getting now has thermal cameras, zoom cameras, so it can detect heat. So if we have a missing person, we'll be able to see them a lot easier, hopefully. And we've also assisted other town departments, for example, inspections of water towers. Instead of sending people up, we've done water towers. We've helped the health department. There was a call once for, they thought it was an oil spill in the pond up in Populatic Street. Within 10 minutes, we flew the drone, and they were able to see that was just algae. It wasn't anything serious. So it's beneficial in many different ways.
Great. Questions? I'd be disappointed. Councilor Chandler.
Hi, Deputy Chief. I just wanted, maybe you can elaborate on it. He just used that drone at that bad fire at Franklin Crossing. That was a very, to show people how important those things are, because that's what got me on board when I'm like, this was great that we were able to use that.
Yeah, thank you. I was able to deploy the drone there, and the battalion chief, the fire chief was right next to me, and they were able to see with the thermal camera the hot spots, and then deploy their assets to help quell the fire.
Yep. It's extraordinary technology.
Really impressive.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Jones?
Just a big thank you to the foundation, the Stevens Family
sure.
Foundation. That is a very tremendous gift. I know what they go for, but the amount of an asset it is to us as a community and the police department, it's unsurmountable. It's a great gift.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Any other councilors? Okay, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 22-56. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Good luck with it, Deputy Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Fly it well.
Yeah. Watch out for those.
Resolution 22-57, gift acceptance, Veterans Services Department 800, Fire Department 100, Police Department 100. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I enjoy reading these resolutions. Acceptance of gifts, Veteran Services Department, Police Department, and Fire Department. Whereas the Veteran Service Department, the Police Department, and Fire Department have received generous donations in the total amount of $1,000 to be used at the discretion of each respective department as follows. Donation Veteran Services Department, $800 donated by the Franklin Community Access Incorporated to be applied towards a monument restoration fund and used to support efforts to clean, restore, and annually maintain the monuments at the town common. Fire Department, $100 donated by the Franklin Moms Club to be applied towards the purchase of safety and other related equipment to fund departmental programs. Police Department, $100 also from the Franklin Moms Club to be applied towards the purchase of safety and other related equipment to fund departmental programs. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Franklin, on behalf of the Veteran Services, Police and Fire Departments, gratefully accepts these generous donations to be used at the discretion of each department as described above. This resolution should become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 22-57.
Second?
Motion is second. Discussion.
Just want to thank everybody for their donations.
Thank you, Jamie. Any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 22-57. Again, a majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 22-58.
Motion to waive the reading.
Cable, let me get there first. Resolution 22-58, cable funds in support of PEG service and programming per Mass General Law, Chapter 44, subsection 53, F3, quarter. Clerk will read the resolution.
Motion to waive the reading.
Second.
Motion and second to waive the reading. All those in favor of waiving the reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries to waive the reading.
Move resolution 22-58.
Second.
Motion and second to move resolution 22-58. A majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Town Administrator's report.
Couple quick things, Mr. Chairman. As most know, I sent it out earlier this week, a fiscal forecast. I know it was heavy on narrative, but, we're required to do this for our bond rating agencies. And, obviously, we're dealing with cost issues that Alicia mentioned. We all know about them, and just wanted to make sure the community was on record to have some management of expectations moving forward. If I could predict inflation, I wouldn't be here. But ultimately, we don't know where this is all going, but we hope to have a joint budget subcommittee later in October. And second, I have invited Brutus and Doug. I should say, anybody that has any questions, feel free to call me, email me. Anybody in the public, come on in and see me. Happy to talk budget if folks want. And number two, I did invite Brutus and Doug here for the next meeting on September 7th to talk about water conservation. There will be no presentation or anything like that, but I know I'm sure a lot of you are getting questions, as we are. I think we know it's dry out, but still we get questions. So it's probably a good educational opportunity for the community. So they'll be here on the 7th. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, subcommittee reports. I think the only subcommittee that has met is EDC, and I think Councilor Frangillo will give us an update.
Yeah, thank you. I am proud to be the vice chair of the most active subcommittee. We met again last week, 90-minute, 2-hour meeting that was really rounding out the Franklin for All downtown zoning diagnostics project. So looking at our downtown zoning, we hired out MAPC through a state grant to come in, look at it, take community feedback, and provide some recommendations. This meeting was about prioritizing which of those recommendations, if any, we wanted to tackle first. So the three that we're asking administration to go forward with first, one is a recommendation around rezoning, specifically around the commuter rail to enable diverse and accessible housing options around the commuter rail and in our downtown. The second is really to look at our parking policies. How do we better utilize existing parking spaces? And that includes encouraging shared private parking as well as re-examining our own municipal lot policies. And the third is similar to the first one, or at least in theme, but is specific to legalizing accessory dwelling units and allowing people on their space to create a second unit. This is often a smaller, more affordable unit that many times is people aging in place, or they can, in my case, I live in an accessory dwelling unit, kids that can come back and have their own space as well. So those are the three that we're moving forward with, and I'm super excited. We're going to hear in about a month the timeline and sort of the approach that we're going to take to start tackling those.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Future agenda items.
Nothing this time.
Councilor Sheridan?
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Frangillo?
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Cormier Ledger?
I do, Mr. Chairman, and I'm sorry to drop a bomb at 9:30. But I know I'm not the only councilor that's frustrated with the recent events at our town planning board, particularly with the apartment building at the old Taj Estates. I just strongly feel it's too small of a lot for that many apartments, but I understand it's going forward. But other towns that are dealing with issues like this have empowered bodies like ours to consider moratoriums on commercial or residential large buildings. I think it's something we should take up. I think it's probably our only option. That site being overdeveloped will lead to other small 1-acre sites in Franklin being overdeveloped as well. And unless we do something about it and provide some guidance, it's just going to get worse. We already have a strain on our infrastructure. Jamie and Brutus have alluded to $160 million in infrastructure problems. More people tapping into systems that are already old and overrun is not smart, but our planning board's hands are tied unless we do something. So I hope we can put on a future agenda item, whether it's a moratorium or a different solution, to provide some guidance on these small lots and how they're being overbuilt. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Councilor Chandler?
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Pellegrini?
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Jones?
No, sir. The only future discussion item I have, really, I was gonna bring up on the council comments, is just, having a discussion in regards to potentially putting in a secondary set of stairs at the library, which is
That-
off of the parking area, simply because it's quite a distance for people who park all the way at the end of the parking lot to have to walk up or onto the ramp. I know that's probably.
Can't do it because of the grade.
Yeah.
We looked into it when we built it.
Okay, we can talk
Talk
about it.
about
Okay,
Talk about that offline.
perfect.
Councilor DeLuca?
I just agree with Ted 100%. That's all I'm gonna say. I agree with you totally, Ted.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilor comments? Councilor Cormier-Ledger?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to say thank you to all of our presenters tonight, particularly my friends at the Cultural Council. Keep up the great work. Don't go anywhere. Don't get discouraged, because you are loved and needed and bring an incredible value to our community in so many ways. So, thank you.
Councilor Chandler?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I'd like to thank the Cultural Council ladies, Mr. Lennon, for staying the whole meeting. It's not always easy. That means you're dedicated too. I appreciate that. Thank you.
The deputy chief for part of.
Oh, yeah. It was at 8 o'clock.
He's up all night anyway.
Got an expensive toy out of it. Oh, that's different.
He was doing paperwork. And little things like you learn tonight. I didn't know Mike D'Angelo was president of that, all the facilities. See, Franklin's impressive. We have people running so many things. We really do.
We do.
I mean, our green community, we're at the top of that. Cultural Council, people want to be like us. I mean, we're really, it's impressive. We should probably make a list one of these days and just put it on the website. But, and lastly, I'm sorry, Debbie, about your sister. It was, I'm sure people will say more that knew her a little better than me, but I'm sorry. And that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Pellegrini?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On that note, I wanted to just say what a wonderful community we have. I have had more calls, cards, flowers, and all sent to us. My sister died just within 1 month with that glioblastoma tumor, and it is the worst thing in the world to have. No signs of anything, no headaches, whatever. She was living with me, and down the Cape, we took care of things, and I'm happy to say she died right with us. And she was a wonderful person, wonderful, wonderful person. And the people of Franklin, thank you again for all the comments and that I have received. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Councilor Sheridan?
I want to express my condolences to Councilor Pellegrini and thanks the Cultural Council for their presentation. I'd also like to thank Councilor Hamlin for inviting me to the zucchini races. It was a lot of fun. I recommend it next year for everybody.
Thank you. Councilor Frangillo?
Yeah, thank you. One of the things I recently took over the role of our GATRA representative, and
Thank you very much again.
Are you regretting this now?
I gotta say, so I gave the update last time that we hired a new executive director. Well, I met with her one-on-one, and the last one didn't work out. I wasn't there for that, so I hope I don't eat my words, but I was thoroughly impressed with the conversation that I had with her, and expect some good reports and good news on future agendas, as well as more interaction with them here in town. So I'm excited. It's first meeting. You know, it's easier to say things than do them, but I think we're heading in the right direction. Huge thanks to the Cultural Council, and I'll just plug that again while we're here. That's September 10th. It was one of the best days of the year last year. And if you're looking to get involved, even if you can't make it, yeah, they got the community unity flowers and the shirts to help support that. We have office hours tomorrow. Council's holding office hours again at Senior Center, 8:30. I'll do a small plug. I'm trying to get out there. It's hard. There's lots of things going on, but I'm going to be setting up a tent at the town common at the farmers market. Not this week, but the following week, if anyone wants to has some thoughts and hasn't been able to find a counselor. Last event, SAFE has their overdose candlelight vigil, which was a really touching event last year, and will be an even more special and important event this year. That's the 31st, August 31st, on the town common.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of course, Deb, I'm sorry for your loss of your sister. God bless you and your family. It's tough. You guys are great. A huge thank you to everyone who gave presentations tonight. Cultural Council, again, just astounding, everything that's been going on. And congratulations to all the appointees to the various committees and boards. I think that, and like I said earlier, I'll repeat myself again, I very much appreciate people stepping up and filling these roles. Other than that, I just look forward to it being a very productive fall. We have a lot coming up in the fall. We talk about electricity tonight and how the future lies in the world of electrical, and I just can honestly say that I'm proud that my fall is going to be probably the busiest it's ever been, because we just swore in 415 new apprentices into our program this fall. So hopefully we'll be able to generate as many future electricians as we can to try to fill the needs of our electrical infrastructure. Other than that, I'm just happy to see everyone tonight. I know we only meet once a month, and that's it, Mr. Chair.
In the summer. This is our last once a month.
Right.
Come September, we're back in our twice a month mode. So, Councilor DeLarco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, to you. Debbie, obviously, sorry about your sister. I met her, she was wonderful. And happy birthday to you, because it was yesterday. Jamie, just as I was walking in, guy called me from Bent Street. Their recycle got picked up Monday, but they haven't got their garbage picked up since. He just called me as I was walking in. So I just want to let you guys know. So I told him.
He should get it picked up by tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Just letting you know. And I'd have to say, well, I know for a fact he's not listening, because he's most likely in a bar in South Boston, but happy birthday to my son. Today's his birthday, but I know he's not listening.
Especially to you.
That's it.
Yeah. Thank you, Councilor DeLarco. Obviously, I'd be remiss, Councilor Pellegrini. I was fortunate to know Debbie's sister for most of my life, and she was a great lady and added a lot to our community, and I know she will be missed, and I know how difficult the last month or so was on Councilor Pellegrini and her family. So certainly our condolences to the entire Simler and Pellegrini family for their loss. I'd also, happy birthday, Debbie. I know, it's always good to see you get that one extra year on me.
We didn't spring for a cake for you either.
I know how much you love me to remind you of that.
Remind me all the time.
I'd also like to thank, we had 9 volunteer appointments this evening. I want to thank, once again, them for stepping up. Also, again, want to thank all of the volunteers that serve on all the committees and boards in our great community. Without you, it doesn't work, and it doesn't happen. So just thank you so much for stepping forward and giving of your time and your knowledge to make us an even better community. Again, our presenters this evening, the cultural people, thank you so much. And our green community information, and Alicia, nice job on your first go-around. Very, very well done. Bravo. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second for Mark's benefit, non-debatable. All those in favor signify